and your children are turned into mindless vassals who now they look up to some twit instead of looking up to Thomas Jefferson or looking up to Nikola Tesla or looking up to Magellan. I mean, kids, Magellan's a lot cooler than Justin Bieber. He circumnavigated with one ship the entire planet. He was killed by wild natives before they got back to Portugal. And when they got back, there was only...
But why? $22 million in 3 fucking hours!
There is no nobility in poverty. I have been a rich man and I have been a poor man, and I choose rich every fucking time. The real question is this: was all this legal? Absolutely fucking not.
Neither go towards the feeding grounds at the edge of the ice, nor return to the colony. Shortly afterwards, we saw him heading straight towards the mountains, some 70 kilometers away. Dr. Ainley explained that even if he caught him and brought him back to the colony, he would immediately head right back for the mountains. But why?
What's your dream? To go away.
To go away. That's right.
Do you guys want to drink? I don't understand why everybody has to be so judgmental. I understand why mom's judgmental. I think it's because she cares partially. I think it's also partially because everyone else is looking at her like, hey, Cody's just a bum. Cody's this, Cody's that, Cody's this. Cody's me, bro. Let me be me.
Mondays are no longer
boom.
terrible, man. When Robin Hood's running, the trenches are feeling alive. We might be back in a war with Iran, but the trenches are hot.
Let's go. What up, boys? GM. Hope everyone is doing well. Another week. We got a freaking stacked schedule for you guys this week. Stacked schedule.
Oh my goodness.
Today we got a lot to talk about. First, first and foremost, though, let's just go ahead and go through real quick. We'll go through the show today with you guys, just kind of give you an expectation of what's to come, and then we'll go through a few things before we get the boys on the stream. So here's our first tweet here. So this is the I'm sorry. Here we go. Perfect. All right. So here is the schedule for the week. Today is the MetaDAO owners meeting recap day. So we'll get Profit on. We'll probably get him on in like 15 minutes or so. Then we'll have Solo coming on for some updates. We have Credible. They're going through their raise. And then towards the end of the stream, we have a friend of the show, Sonder, coming on. If you guys remember Sonder, he's OG in the space, been around for a while, for a few years, and he's a really awesome trader. So happy to get him on. Awesome dude, Chad, freaking legend. So we'll get him on at 2 p.m. We'll talk about, what he's paying attention to in the markets as well.
Some lore on this too. I mean, this was the first inaugural MetaDAO token holder meeting. So pretty big deal here, and there was a lot of big announcements that flew off the shelves. Unfortunately, it wasn't live streamed. It was in San Francisco, so like a lot of people are trying to figure out what was covered in this meeting. You know, were they all wearing hoods? Were they all lighting candles, talking about the future of MetaDAO and like making these underground, agreements? We got to know what's going on. So that's why Prophet's come on. He's going to give us the full recap of the MetaDAO inaugural MetaDAO token holder meeting or holders meeting, which then leads us perfectly into Solomon Labs, because there's been a proposal raised that $2 million from the MetaDAO treasury will go towards USDV, which is Solomon's flagship stablecoin product, right? And so clearly they're rolling this out. We're getting the ball rolling. Following that is Credible. Credible is the raise that's starting today on MetaDAO, and they are very profitable. Their growth has been incredible, so really going to be a fun conversation. And then, like Chill said, Mr. Saunders. Okay, so I had to give the full lore here on why today is important. You guys got to be locked in.
Yo, let's how about MetaDAO? MetaDAO, just hit us up next time, bro. Owners meeting, we'll stream it live for you, live coverage. We'll be like what's the podcaster's name? Why am I forgetting his name? His name begins with an R.
The Roll Up?
No, the fame, like it's a top podcast in the world. Joe freaking Rogan. Will Joe Rogan the owners meeting next time? You know what I'm saying? We're on the sidelines, we're live streaming, we're calling plays, we're reacting to the news, to everything that's being dropped. We'll live stream it. Yeah, hit us up next time. Yeah, we got you.
Got you. Sorry to break up your flow, man. I just have to emphasize that for today. This week is a banger, by the way, boys. If you're not clocking it.
Yeah, no, this week is solid. This week is solid. So before we get Prophet on, before we start with MetaDAO, obviously there's a lot of talk around Robinhood. So we want to address that a little bit before we get into our interviews here this afternoon or this morning, whatever time it is for you guys. But ton of stuff happening on Robinhood. Basically, over the weekend, we saw a huge dip across the entire Robinhood ecosystem. And this dip, won't you look at that? Knox is kind of pushing a little bit.
Doing his thing.
Yeah. They just waited for MCG to go live to start making some moves.
All right, bro. Let's get into it, bro. Let's cover the schedule and get into it then.
All right. So here's what happened over the weekend. Well, first schedule Tuesday, we got Chip Nest, PR XVT on Wednesday with Reply. Reply is another one that I'm really interested in. Thursday, we have Tabor on Agency, and then we have Comic Book ICM. And then on Friday, we have our huge virtuals day on Friday, covering the entire Robinhood ecosystem and covering what they're doing on that side. So we'll dig into the Robinhood connection, see what that relationship is about. And I'd also want to get into, I wanted to get into this tweet as well. And maybe I'll ask you about this first, because this is something that I wanted to get your opinion on. And this could kind of lead us into the whole Robinhood.
We want to show some love on the stream real quick first. little retweet.
Oh yeah. All right, before we do that, guys. All right, this is what we got to do. Go to @MCG Live. We got to do our housekeeping first. Dom is keeping me on point here today. So let's go to @MCG Live on Twitter. Right, you're gonna want to do two things. First, make sure you're following the account. We're here Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern time. Hit us up. We cover on chain like no other stream on CT or in crypto.
Nobody does.
We've
had every single hot prominent project on in the last year, bro, when the market's been dead.
Come on, bro.
Follow it.
Stop playing. Scroll down. Second thing you're going to do is you're going to go to our pinned tweet. And you're going to do two things on that pinned tweet. You're going to like, and then you're going to retweet this pinned tweet. All right, done. All right. So let's get into it. So we talked about, I was telling you guys that I wanted to talk about this tweet by a core contributor of Virtuals, MT. He says, we have 20 plus top quality AI teams that I personally know launching on Virtuals soon. And this is super encouraging. If you're an AI team or developer, hit us up. AI developers don't need to pay anything to start, and our 5,000 plus enthusiasts are here to support you. So I want to ask you this. This was posted back in June, about a month ago. This is maybe shout out Crypto G369, MCG in the trenches. We're in the trenches with you, brother.
Come on, bro.
And so I'm trying to understand here, Dom, if there are 20 plus top quality teams, and this was posted right before the Robinhood chain went live, are all these coming to Robinhood or?
Well, I'll tell you this, okay? And I'll tell you what Virtuals is, or at least what I think Virtuals is. And again, Friday, we have the Virtuals Day. We're going to have Virtuals team on. We're going to have top ecosystem projects. The leading tech plays you see right now, the leading agents are on Virtuals. They launched via Virtuals. But here's what I'm saying. I just pull up this tweet here. Robinhood tweeted this, quote tweeted Virtuals. And they said live from day one on Robinhood chain. If you're building agents, the infra's ready. Okay. Two things that we got to take note. Number one, Virtuals was integrated day one. They clearly had a prerequisite conversation to this Robinhood launch. They'd already established the infrastructure. They'd already had launches ready to go. On day one, we saw a couple of those major launches. Again, to be determined if these are going to be sustainable, but they clearly already had launches ready to go. They had things in the works. Secondly, Robinhood is taking a strong stance on agentic finance. Okay, shout out Solana for the retweet. We're going to get into MetaDAO, rip through it. They have a strong stance on agentic finance, right? If you've watched any of the Robinhood calls recently, like the Earth is Flat call, they had a very big emphasis on, we have this app, you can create strategies, agentic finance is the future. We know Vlad's very forward-facing and innovative. So I think what happened here, and of course, Virtuals enables all of this, right? So what I'm thinking happened here is these guys had a conversation before, and from day one, they went live. So to say the least, this has been thought about and planned out for quite some time now. So yes, Chill, to circle back to what you were saying, I wouldn't be surprised if those launches are lined up and ready to go for Virtuals on Robinhood. And I think we probably see some more soon. So I would monitor that situation pretty closely.
Interesting times. I was on mute. Interesting times. So I wanted to cover that. Secondly here, I saw that, everyone's kind of taking note of this whole Noxa situation. So just to catch everyone up, just in case you didn't know, Noxa is the number one launch pad on Robinhood. They recently went down. They recently said, hey, we're seeing there's a lot of vamping. There's a lot of PvP in the trenches. And they said, hey, look, we're going to stop. We're going to pause launches and we're going to try to figure this out. Dom, implications? What was your first reaction to that?
Do we have the numbers on Noxa chain? Because right here, I'm not sure. Uniswap made this post, but it actually, if you look clearly, I actually didn't even have this post up for the sake of Noxa. I had this post up for the sake of Uniswap and to talk about that. But if you actually look really closely down here, and maybe this is going to be a better angle for you guys to blow it up. If you actually look really closer down here, you see Noxa is number 5 right now in terms of 24-hour fees with $2.33 million in fees. So they are the leading launch pad on Robinhood right now, bar none. I have this tweet up because Uniswap generated $5.2 million in daily fees, above any protocol other than USDC, USDT, and far more than Hype Pump, etc. Which is just wild. And again, we'll probably do Uniswap takes at the end. We'll save a lot of these takes for the end here because in a few minutes we have our MetaDAO day really kicking off. But I think it's a bad look for Noxa to go down during a crucial time like this. They've made $4, $8, $12 million. I think $12 million is what I've seen since Robinhood chain launched. So, I think it's a bad look for them to go down. I am all for innovating and fixing it up, but they got to get this thing back going again. Now is not the time to let it slip. That's for sure. Bullish Noxa though. Yeah,
100%. Here's some here's the metrics. Let me throw this on screen for you guys. So here are the metrics on Noxa. I mean, basically since April 8th, over the next couple of days, it's been consistently like 2.5 mil each day. It's not about bad. 10 mil in like 4.5 days or so. As you can see, the tokens created has plummeted to basically nothing because of this pause. I do think that, man, they are kind of allowing someone else to kind of come in and essentially kind of eat their lunch a little bit. Because like you said, it's a very key time in the development of Robinhood chain. So a lot of activity going on there, and you know, it's kind of rough to see them pause, but it's for a good reason at the end of the day. They're trying to fix this like PvP vamping sort of push that's starting to come show itself on their platform, which to me, it's actually they're willing to sacrifice revenue to save the trenches. To me, okay, I actually see your positioning. You're more aligned with kind of the community more so, and you're the traders natively on your platform. You're more concerned about them than your own pockets, right? So I kind of like that. It is a crucial time. It is potentially, you know, something that could you know, give room for other competitors, but at the end of the day, it's for a good reason, and that I gotta give hats off to them.
Yeah. So boys, we do have MetaDAO. Again, Prophet was running a bit late, so in a couple minutes here, hopping on to give us this token holder recap. I say we maybe start to prep that a little bit, and we'll save a lot of the Robinhood takes and then break down for the end of the show. So again, the run of show here is going to be Prophet's going to come on. He's going to give us a recap of that token holder meeting. It's going to be fantastic. We're going to get the entire scoop that was going down in San Francisco. Following that's going to be Solomon Labs, who again was announced that $2 million has been pledged basically to go to Solomon Labs from MetaDAO Treasury as long as that vote passes. Following that, Credible, which is the newest MetaDAO launch. And again, growth numbers are fantastic. I'll actually pull that up here, I guess, to prep the show a little bit. Oh, geez. And I accidentally just closed out one of my tabs. It's all good. Look, so I'll pull this up here to prep the show a little bit. Yeah, look at these numbers. Look at these numbers coming out of Credible. Okay. That's chill screen. But look at this. And we got Prophet in the waiting room, so we're going to talk through his thesis on this a little bit too. But this is, firstly, the monthly volume. And this is not, oh, is this Credible? Wow. Monthly volume is just continuously ramping up and to the right. Exactly what I want to see. So this is looking good. It'll be a fun conversation. And again, to end this, when we start talking about some other stuff, some of our takes, Robinhood, we'll have Sonder coming on as well. So, guys, not going to wait too much longer. We got Prophet in the waiting room. Let's jump straight into it. Going to be exciting. Let's get the scoop on the token holder meeting. Prophet, welcome to the show. It's been a busy week for you, I assume.
Welcome back.
Thanks. I actually can't hear Dom, so I'm going to try reconnecting from Google Chrome.
Okay. Sounds good.
Sometimes we see those issues when you're using a different browser.
He was like, he was silent, bro. I was like, yeah. Sometimes when you use a different browser, like it'll kind of mess up. You know, shout out StreamYard. It's a live stream. Things happen. It's all good. Looks like he's reconnected. Let's we'll get him up here. Add him to the stage.
You with us, Prophet?
Yes, I can hear you now. Great.
Let's
Perfect.
go, baby.
Welcome back, brother. How are you?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, no problem. We're excited. We obviously been following MetaDAO for a while. We saw you guys did this. The first inaugural, I'm assuming this is going to happen yearly, holder meeting that was held in San Francisco. How was that?
It was awesome. Yeah. I mean, we had, I think, like 20 people fly from outside the United States to come to San Francisco. A bunch of people also flew from elsewhere in the U.S. Yeah, I mean, it was just great to get like a lot of the core community in one room and everyone. I think it was just like how I closed off the conference was there's this old Vitalik blog post where he talks about how a big reason why generals, when they go into battle, they like have everyone chant like, oh, we're about to go into battle. It's so that everyone knows that like there are going to be other people that rush into battle with them. So they won't just like go in alone and die. And that, I think, if it was just like, obviously there was other value, there was like information transmitted between teams. And like, I'm sure there were investors that found teams that they didn't know about. And there were teams that found investors and people maybe that found products that they would like to use. But if it was just like everyone knowing that like there are other people that want to make MetaDAO successful, that I think, yeah, that was enough because it was great.
That's exciting, man. Lots of fun. You said 20 teams flew from out of country to come.
20 people.
20 people. Wow, that's pretty incredible. So what was the thinking here? Just like general alignment. I think you kind of explained getting everyone to rally together behind this. But I don't know, what was the thinking behind it when you're like, we got to set up an inaugural holder meeting?
I mean, you'll have to ask Rinko about that. That's kind of one of the nice things about having a token and token holders is like sometimes things happen that benefit you without you even driving them. It was not my idea. And in terms of what value I think I saw from the conference, it was kind of what I mentioned. But yeah, for me, it was more just like, okay, he wants to do this. This sounds like a good idea. So sure, let's do it.
Let's go. Can we talk about some of the stuff that you guys discussed during that conference? Are we going to get, I think I saw in our chat with Misha, he mentioned some of this content's going to be going out that was maybe recorded or something. But can you talk us through some of what was said, big announcement, big updates that came out of that meeting?
Sure. So there were a few big announcements from teams. So I don't want to steal anyone's thunder, but when it comes to MetaDAO and what we're working on, I mean, I think the biggest update is I had a talk called MetaDAO 2.0 where I talked about all of the, like, we kind of had MetaDAO 1.0 and that system and that series of raises, and obviously there were some benefits and some parts of that are working, but then there are still some frictions from both an investor and like a founder standpoint. And so we have a bunch of mechanism changes that were like system level changes that we're working on. So I'll give you one example. I think this is probably the biggest change, which is right now when every proposal goes through the same process. As in, if you're a team and you want to get acquired by another company, or if you want to spend more than your monthly spending limit, that goes through the same process, and it requires the same amount of stake. It takes three days no matter what, and it also has like the same proposal threshold, which basically just means like they're all as easy to pass as one another, based on the content of the proposal.
Mm-hmm.
What we're working on is a system by which we define a specific set of proposals or like a specific set of actions, and they all have different rules around how long they take, how hard it is to pass, who can raise them. So like, for example, I think an IP transfer or an acquisition, in the US, it takes 20 days, actually. Like if you want to do a tender offer of a company, Reg TO is regulation tender offer. It says you have 20 days. Like all investors get 20 days to react to this information. I feel like that's probably a reasonable proposal time for something that's as big as an acquisition, just to let everyone see and participate in that, right? If it's like a 2-day long proposal, maybe you're just not checking your Twitter on the weekend and you're a big holder, but you don't see, versus like 20 days is probably enough time for you to see that and participate. So I'd say that's the biggest change. We have some other changes as well. So like, I think we're developing, so automated buybacks and sellbacks is one thing that we're working on, so that those don't have to go through proposals. Like basically, trying to reduce the number of proposals that have to be there and just like have this stuff automated. There's a couple other things as well, but I would say those are the two biggest.
So to jump in on this, I remember we had early discussions about like, some of the pros and cons and push and pull of MetaDAO. It's, some of these founders have to give up a lot of control. I think as you've evolved and MetaDAO is heading into this phase 2 that you kind of talk about here, is one of the goals to give founders a bit more control, or maybe that's not the thinking, but I remember that was a lot of pushback, even I think from founders joining MetaDAO. We know MetaDAO is not for everybody. But one of the big things was I want some control over the decision making rather than all of it kind of laying in the token holders' hands. How are you guys thinking about that today? Is that shifted at all?
Yeah. So operationally, I think control has always been somewhat in the founders' hands, as in like the market. Take Facebook, for example, or Meta, I guess now. Like the market, Mark Zuckerberg has created so much value for Meta, and investors are aware of this and how competent a leader he is, that like it would be very hard to get through the market something that overturns Zuckerberg, even in
Yeah.
like a decentralized context. And I think the same is true for any founder on MetaDAO who's kind of proven themselves to the market. Like if you right now raise a proposal that's like kick profit out or like overturn the strategic decision, like I'm sorry to say, but it probably would not go through.
You don't think I have that kind of pool?
Yeah. I mean, maybe I don't know.
No.
Maybe even conspiring behind my back to get all the investors in line. But yeah. So that's actually not the pull. I think with that, just time is going to show founders. But what is a pull is like, I mean, it's kind of an autistic way to say it, but reducing entropy in the system. Like, the idea that right now, at any time, someone can raise any proposal to any of the companies on MetaDAO, and they may have like a short time to react to that. And also, people can raise proposals that are not even valid. Like we also, and that's another motivation for this is like we've had proposals that we decide that we're not able to honor. I mean, they'll just be like memo instructions of like do this, but then we're like, wait, this is not specified enough. And so that's like chaos, right? It's like you don't really know what you're getting as a token holder or as a founder, versus if we can, instead of just allowing like anything to happen at any time, you enumerate the list of things that can happen and how they go about. I think it feels more comfortable for both people participating on the investor side and on the founder side.
I gotta ask about your take on this Bonk situation. We saw Bonk recently had a predatory proposal raised, and it turned out basically just no one logged onto Bonk to participate in the DAO and vote for it. TLDR, some guy accumulated a bunch of Bonk over some amount of time and raised a proposal basically to just take $20 million from the treasury and pay himself out. And because nobody was paying attention and participated, you know, the proposal went through and he got $20 million. Obviously a big flaw in the system. We saw Solomon had a lot of participation in one of their recent proposals. When you think about participation and keeping this DAO active and alive so things like that don't happen, you know, I'm just kind of curious on your standpoint and stance there. Could something like that Bonk situation happen for MetaDAO? And like maybe what's your thinking behind everything there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it could never happen. I think building in public in crypto forces you to be humble because you get humbled by things happening that you didn't expect. But I would say it's less likely to happen in a decision market system, because the incentives around participation are higher, right? Like you could be financially advantaged to trade into decision market in that context, as opposed to with Bonk. It's kind of like everyone is providing this common good of decision making, and you as a voter don't really get much benefit out of it as an individual. But I don't really have like a super informed take other than that. I mean, I thought it was quite funny that, did you see that the contents of the proposal were like transition to Sowellian governance, which is like a proposed type. I mean, I would actually consider it a type of decision market, but like it's a proposed like competitor to decision markets. And I thought it was kind of funny that like the transfer to this thing is like, oh, that's just the rug transaction. We just like rug you by moving to this new governance system. But that's kind of like my take.
It was a wild proposal. I still can't fathom that it passed. And I still can't fathom that I didn't think about something like this. Like, hey, Bonk is actually dead. I should probably just like see if I can get 20 million bucks from him. But nonetheless, interesting stuff. I want to lean more into this MetaDAO 2.0 thing. You kind of mentioned some of the changes you're making, like these different tiers or ways to pass proposals, different proposal system. Could you talk me through some of the other things you guys have on the horizon that you're excited about that are kind of going to transition MetaDAO from, I guess, this early state that you were in 1.0 to more of an evolved, advanced, state?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big thing is distribution. So on the founder side, we hired Mitchell, who's our head of founder outreach, and his main quest right now is getting high quality non-crypto founders, like not we're trying to target not really like venture people that going through the existing venture pipeline, but more like app builder type people. So that, and the value prop to them is like 100K and 100 users. That's like, I mean, a lot of the people who were launching tokens on Believe, we want to target. And yeah, I think that's a big thing.
Can I jump in on that real quick? You said a
Yeah.
lot of people that were launching tokens on Believe are who you want to target. But till this date, all your curated launch has been very like white glove, hand selected in terms of these are companies that have been in the market for a while and their revenue looks good. Maybe growth has been pretty significant, or they have a strong value proposition. Some of the Believe teams are very early stage. Are you thinking of shifting to a more? I know you have this Futardio more democratized platform, but is that, I think, more of the direction you guys are headed in?
Yeah. So yes, I want to go earlier in the stack. And yes, I mean, like, because I just think also in this, there's a bunch of forces pushing us to that. I mean, one is that generally the capital constraints of this business are not super high, right? Like to build one of these apps. I mean, a lot of them are like bootstrapped today. And so if you do like $2 million rounds and that's your business in that market, it's like just going to be, you're going to be oversupplying capital to these companies.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of other reasons as well. Like I can talk about the exact like mind map of how we ended up at app builder, like non-crypto app builders, but
Yeah,
yeah.
let's get into
Yeah,
your thinking
please.
there.
Please.
Sure, yeah. So okay, so at the time we were doing a bunch of crypto deals, and there are some good crypto deals, but I think there are, in this market, there are actually like, I don't want to put down any founders but I just think on average the deal quality is slightly lower than we'd seen before. And if you speak to a lot of crypto VCs, they won't say this publicly, but they have this sentiment.
In what
Where like,
sense?
so yeah, if you speak to a lot of crypto VCs, they will tell you something like right now there's kind of a lot of copycat projects. Like there's stuff that's like doing this but with Y, like X but with Y. Like I don't know, prediction market, but with like on these types of markets or with this like specific configuration, which like, I mean, maybe we can argue about whether these are good businesses or not, but they are less exciting. And yeah, so deal quality in crypto on average is lower. And then maybe more importantly for us, because we are a crowdfunding platform at the end of the day, is people's appetite to participate in crypto deals, I think, is a lot lower, right? Like a lot of traders I know are just trading stocks at the moment. Like they're buying maybe Hype, Zcash, Near, like a few coins, but they're not really participating in the trenches. Or like altcoins more broadly, they're buying stocks. And yeah, so that I think is another thing. And then so that kind of forces you, like pushes you to doing non-crypto deals. And then within the landscape of non-crypto deals, there's venture-backed projects or companies. There's like, yeah, I mean, I live in San Francisco. There's like my compatriots here that are building companies, typically raise like a couple $1 million seed round. And you could try to get those to instead raise on MetaDAO. And it's still possible. Like I'm still open to those. It's just venture is so entrenched in the culture, and venture is like quite a good product, I think, for this founder. The main edge that we can have is distribution, but right now most of the people participating are crypto people, and so we can ratchet that up to like non-crypto people hopefully over time as we do more non-crypto deals. But you have this cold start problem, and yeah, so there's that. And then also, yeah, because it's a bear market, or maybe MetaDAO, because of MetaDAO specific things, I think there's less appetite for ICOs on MetaDAO right now. I mean, there's less appetite for ICOs as a whole. and so it's harder to do like the big deals. And so the last, especially if you're filling only retail, like I think the retail appetite specifically for this stuff is down a lot. Institutions are like actually still deploying. And so the last kind of, or like the other option is, these like early stage app builder type people. I think you have a pretty clear right to win, which is a lot of them. I mean, there's a bunch. One is that they're too subscale for VC, right? A venture fund can't really do 100K deals because if you do, you're going to have to like actually check in with this entrepreneur and like talk to them. And there's only so many hours in a day. Or like, even if you were to go lower, like 50K, like 25K, it doesn't really work, even if that may be the amount of capital that some of these teams need. So that's one, why VC doesn't really serve this market today. Another one is I think the liquidity demands of these founders is very different, right? Like a big reason why most of a lot of these people bootstrap today is because their goal is like, I want to build this app and then make a bunch of money and like buy a Lambo or like retire my family or whatever, right? And you can do that in venture, but at a totally different time scale and at a also different scale of business, right? You're as a founder in venture, you're not doing secondary sales of your stock before probably Series B or Series C even. And that's happening, I don't know, it depends on the speed of your startup, but could be like five years after you start. There's not like this like, escape the permanent underclass in a short amount of time pull. And so versus like tokens, I mean, love it or hate it, but that is one value of tokens is like you can give liquidity to these founders. And like obviously in crypto, we've seen a lot of the poor ways of doing that. But I don't think letting people take some upside off the table is like evil or anything. I just think it is historically, it's like been the amount and the way that it's been done that's been problematic. And we've got like our performance package where like, they can only do that if people are making money. And then also they benefit the most from early users, right? Like if you are a Series A startup, you don't really care about the incremental like 500 people that you can get in through having a token at the start, or like maybe you could be more. I mean, Avi Patel is like maybe used his token quite well to get like hundreds of thousands of people. I don't actually know how many people use Kled, but it's a lot. But like that's rarer than the median case, which is you launch this thing and then you get like an early subset of users and believers, like maybe on the scale of like 100. I mean, that's what happened to MetaDAO, right? We launched originally, it's a 10K market cap, and there was like 60 people that held the token, and they were like mostly participating and providing feedback and providing value.
How many users do you need, I think, to help really propel a business? Like, is 100 true locked-in believers pushing the mission enough to make a difference?
If it's early stage, I think yes. I mean, it was definitely helpful for MetaDAO. When we were early stage, I mean, at that point, it was basically just me, and then shortly after there, my co-founder. And so basically, like, we provide a lot of value, I think, to these people, and we can get value out of them because, like in the IPO, part of the reason why some things are venture scale and some things are not is that to IPO in the US right now, you've got to have about, you can look at like different estimates, but around $300 million of annual recurring revenue to IPO in the US. Versus, I mean, you can launch a token today and then you don't, and if you don't IPO, like as a venture investor, I mean, I guess things can get acquired, but it reduces the opportunity set. And so, I think that's another reason, like a lot of these businesses may not ever get to 300 million. They may be more like middle market, maybe doing like I mean, $50 million a year would be like an amazing business to back
Right.
on MetaDAO. And we can do things like that. But like that is actually unexciting to a venture investor, something that could eventually generate $50 million a year, at least most. And so, yeah, those are all the things that like push us towards this. And I think the main friction that they have today, like the founder side and on the investor side, I think on the founder side, it's like, giving up your company and like doing this weird structure. And then B, a lot of them have been burned by tokens. I mean, we had like warm leads, but they just didn't like that were like high quality in this like app builder space, but they just didn't like the connotation of having a token and yeah, what happened with Believe and whatnot. And then the other thing is like that I think remains a question is can you turn crypto users into users of your non like crypto app, right? Like we've seen Avicii can 10x its users by having a token. Have we seen, I don't know, like some CPG company get a bunch of people to buy its product because they have a token?
So, and one question, just to kind of close the loop on this, if you want to go from this more curated style launch where these people are doing these road shows, they're going for semi-significant raises. How do you go from this point to, again, more of like these very early stage app builder Believe style products? Like what has to fundamentally change in terms of your approach to onboard these users, build that top of funnel out? Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that much has to change from the product standpoint. I think probably like we could do 100K raise as a curated raise on MetaDAO today. And there's nothing stopping that from happening. I think to scale it, which is like the nice problem to have of like once we can get some group of this people that's launched and prove out to scale it, I do think MetaDAO is going to have to move from so we have these two kind of universes of like there's the permissionless world where you can literally launch anything. You can put a JPEG of like a dog and say like Chill's dog and launch that on Cardio. And then you have MetaDAO where it's like you got to talk to us and we have to like put the little stamp on you of like, yeah, this is MetaDAO approved. We think that this is a good thing to participate in. And I think that there's a world between those two where on MetaDAO's sites, anyone can apply and just like, as long as it looks like a reasonable enough business, then we approve it within like 24 hours or 48 hours. And then I don't know, maybe we have some automated Twitter account that tweets about all of these. And there's not so many that if you're like it's not going to be like looking at Pump Fund where you have something like every minute. So you actually probably can monitor these and look, at least take a quick look at all the people that start raising and then and like that I think could work.
So with all of that in mind, I mean, you painted a very a very clear picture of, kind of VC, the way they're looking at the space now. You painted a picture of, the market of founders that you guys are going after. What's the pipeline looking like right now? Like how have things kind of progressed on that side of things? See, you're making an adjustment there.
He's in the closet.
Yes, moving. Well, the light in this one doesn't work either.
Is this like a call booth or what is this?
Yes, this is a phone booth. It's like a sound. You see this like little texture. It's like a sound resistant phone booth. And so yeah,
I don't have you in a closet here to take this call.
No, it's all good. But yeah. Sorry, what was the question again? I got distracted by the phone booth thing.
Oh no, no worries. Just about your pipeline, how that's kind of evolved, and now knowing the type of founder that you're after and the environment that we're in crypto, with the sentiment being the way it is. What's the pipeline looking like now with that in mind?
We actually do have a few that we are excited about on the crypto side. Like I said, on average, quality is lower, but like I'm still very optimistic on certain teams and certain products. And so with those, they are currently talking to the funds who participate in these sorts of things and getting a sense of demand, because that's the way that MetaDAO works now on the curated side. Is you don't just like there has to be we like at least 50% of the capital to be committed ahead of time. And then, but I would say it's still very early on the non-crypto. Like we have not yet found a non-crypto deal that we're excited about. And so, yeah, still looking for that
I
deal.
wanted to get your take on this real quick as well. Ansem recently, I was doing a lot of posts about kind of ownership tokens and just how that space is looking. Ansem commented about you guys, about MetaDAO, and how he's excited about what MetaDAO is doing. And I think a part of what he's trying to do is use this kind of quote unquote motion that he has on the timeline through meme coins and direct that to real builders in the space. We've kind of broken down that thesis of his. And I was wondering, with him being really interested in MetaDAO, has there been any effort on his part to establish a relationship or anything? Because I mean, you guys have a really great ecosystem. Obviously, the quality of builders on your platform is higher on average by far than most others. So wanted to see if there was any relationship developing there.
You know, I've actually never talked to Ansem. Let me put that on my to-do list to see if we can establish a line and just like make ourselves available.
Well, he really likes Avicii too. I know that. You know, even having if Ram's open to it, having yourself or Ram go on Market Bubble, I think would be a pretty important, interesting conversation.
Yeah,
you know what happened, Prophet? The Squire dev, he was on our call, and he actually was talking about, hey, I should do this. I should reach out to Ansem. So we told him, hey, just give a message to Ansem right now. He actually watches MCG quite a bit. He's retweeted our stuff, and we've actually helped Squire get connected. So who knows? Maybe through MCG we can. Maybe he's watching right now.
Is that what you're saying?
Just give him a live call to action. Hey, Ansem, you know.
Yeah, give him a live CPA right now. And
okay. If you're watching, just DM me on Twitter. I'll be waiting.
So
I love it.
Do you mind if I jump in? I want to talk a bit on I think the raises we've had so far. It seems like there's been a little bit of a shift from the early days to today. Recently, we've seen a lot of these founders go on these roadshows and, like you mentioned, kind of get pre-committed capital before raising. What is the thinking behind doing this, and how has this been working for you so far?
Yeah, so a big value to a founder of a fundraising platform is raising money and knowing that you're raising money, because it's a big deal to put yourself out there like that. And I think it kind of sucks to have it not fill. I mean, there are and so we had Harupe, which was a raise that we tried to do that didn't fill. And that sucked. And so we were like, okay, how do we prevent this from happening? Or like, how do we minimize the probability of this happening in the future? And yes, the way it works now, the way it's worked with actually P2P, Lasso, and then it's about to work with For Credible, is we take companies. We have this guy named Connor King who's like excellent at this, and he exactly this. So he connects teams to funds, and then funds can soft commit money or like commit money, and then we only go live once there's enough committed where we feel confident that the raise will fill. And yeah, so I think this has like a bunch of benefits, but like namely what I mentioned. But then I think it also having institutional participation assuages a lot of people of like, is this a good deal, right? It's good to know as a participant that there are other people who are professionals, like this is their full-time job, and they've done due diligence and they are participating at the same terms you may be able to participate in. by participating in the raise. So yeah, I think that's kind of nice as well.
Yeah, really interesting. I've been seeing that, and I really like that model here and methodology. You've also done a different type of raise where I think you prioritize. I'll put you in the middle here. You prioritize. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, like the raises filling earlier on as opposed to all piling in at the end. We saw obviously the first couple of raises. This was the very strong trend of everyone kind of waiting to the end, which makes a lot of sense. So you know how much you're going to fill, how much you have to bid. Recently, that's changed. With the past Lasso raise, I think we saw this work very well. Maybe talk me through the new mechanisms you guys are employing and how that worked with Lasso and how it's going to work with Credible, who we have on shortly after this.
Well, for the record, I would say Lasso did not work very well for participants, mainly from a communication failure on our part. Like a lot of people didn't understand the fact that funds could get a large percentage of the raise. And we did put in our docs that could happen, but we should have been more communicative about that. And so if you're watching and you participated, I'm sorry. And I'm not going to say we are going to do a better job of communication because we already have. Like with Credible, it's it's bolded. It says exactly the amount. But yes, the motivation for that. First come, first serve does have some benefits, right? It brings people in. And because there's some momentum going on, where once people participate, other people want to participate. And so what we wanted, but then first come, first serve has a couple of problems. The most notable is it can be sniped. And so the current system is trying to kind of toe the line between pro rata, which is what we previously had, which is has the problem, has the nice thing of it not being able to be sniped, but then you don't really get much relative to the dollars you put in. And then you have all these people committing at the end with first come, first serve.
Got you. I want to speed run a few more questions because we are at time. Yeah. We have Ranga patiently waiting in the waiting room here. But I want to talk about just your general thoughts on Credible. You had a few posts on it. You seem to have kind of taken a bit of a bull posting stance, given some thesis on it. Maybe just walk me through your general thoughts and why this seems like an appetizing opportunity.
Sure. I feel I don't know. I don't want to be too shilly, but it is kind of, and obviously, I think a lot of things that is hard to communicate is that expected value is different than guaranteed outcome, right? These are highly risky markets. This is all early stage. In early stage, most things fail. And yet it can still be an intelligence test of whether you think something is plus expected value. So in this context, it is a exited founder. So he's previously, if you read through the raise page, you can find an article that links to, or I think I actually linked to the image next to here. Exited founder, or if you click the left button on the image.
Oh, okay, got you.
Yeah, so here there's this article where it talks about how his previous business or their previous business got acquired, and it wasn't it was a ginormous. It wasn't $1 billion outcome, but still there is some signal in that. And they've worked together. The business is currently doing $3.5 million a year of revenue run rate. It has grown about 29% month over month for the last 6 months, consistently. It's not one big spike. It's consistent up and to the right. And the valuation is, it depends on the amount that they take, but the maximum is around $9 million. I feel that kind of the facts speak for themselves.
No, absolutely. We appreciate that take. Also want to talk on the fund. You guys have mentioned this fund, raised a proposal for it. What's the thinking behind this fund? I think it's a really cool idea. We talked actually, at Accelerate. Shout out Solana. But we talked a bit about this at Accelerate at the end of the conference for an hour. I chewed your ear off. What's the thinking behind this fund that you guys have raised a proposal on?
Yeah. So, like I said, a big part of raising in this way is like wanting to know that your raise will get filled. And we solve that on the larger raise side through this like book building process. Actually, I probably shouldn't call it a book building process, through this process that I've talked about. But like I said, like a lot of funds can't really do these small raises, like 50K checks. And so we wanted a vehicle that, and then also there's like other MetaDAO specific things. Like we actually, we do believe in some level of returning capital from the projects that are not really working out, or like that new information has come out about that is negative, right? Like Rug is really just one specific type of information generation, which is like immediately after the raise, a lot of really negative information comes out. But like there's not a phase transition between that and just like the founder not executing well, or like the business, like maybe the market landscape shifting. So we think it does make like this rolling capital system. We're still like figuring out the right way to describe it, but this system where you take capital from like the companies that are not doing well and then shift some of it into the companies that are doing well, like actually does make sense, which is contrarian, but like we believe this. And so we need a fund that's like purpose built to deal with that, like to kind of be like MetaDAO is a very idiosyncratic structure, and we want a fund that's like purpose built for MetaDAO structure. And so, yeah, it's going to be run by two Georgian entrepreneurs who build businesses, internet businesses in their home country of Georgia, and have spent the last few years running a crypto prop firm, like basically just like investing their own money in crypto, and also like running strategies like they were like miners of BitTensor subnets and whatnot. So that'll be that. And MetaDAO is going to anchor it with $2 million of our capital. They already have some money committed by other LPs, and the goal is for that to grow.
Very cool. That's exciting. Looking forward to it. Before we wrap and move on to Ranga here, I got to ask about the Zinc situation, right? We had the Zinc situation. Some people felt entitled to the revenues. There was this back and forth on the timeline. Just any comment on this? Wish you would have handled it different? You were happy with how the mechanism worked? Learnings? Kind of just curious to get that and make it as quick as possible, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. So I think it's going to be in the monthly update out today. But the TLDR is basically, I think we have some things to improve with the mechanism as a result of this. That was kind of the final nail in the coffin of like definitely wanting this like instruction set, purpose-built instruction set of like making it very clear around how you can do all these actions and like what they take. And then the other thing that we're also doing is creating planning on creating as a committee that's elected by Meta decision markets that in extreme circumstances has the ability to reject proposals. Is at least like a plan. And so I think that's like another outcome of that. Plenty of learnings, obviously some of which I can't really talk about, but I'm going to talk like basically a lot of ways that we can improve the system.
Okay, positive learning experience then. Okay, well, we got Ranga up. You guys have done something really cool for the ecosystem here. You have raised a proposal for $2 million of the treasury to go into USDV, kicking off this, Solomon just got done with a bunch of audits. It looks like they're really going into full gear, and we're going to have this conversation with Ranga in a second here. But what's the thinking behind kicking off with this $2 million treasury proposal? You guys are very supportive over the ecosystem, maybe the conversations and thinking behind this.
Yeah, to keep it short and sweet, it's like we want to support our ecosystem, and then there is real benefit of yield. MetaDAO has about $12 million in our treasury. If we were generating yield on that, we'd be able to pay for an extra engineer, like a San Francisco expensive engineer. And so, I don't think we're at the scale yet where we can like negotiate a deal with Circle. So yeah, that's kind of the motivation. And I also don't really want to take smart contract risk and like put it into the next drift.
Very true. Okay, well, Prophet, it's always a pleasure. We could sit here and talk for hours. We'll have to get you back on at some point soon enough. So we appreciate you, and we're excited to chat again in the future.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on MCG again.
Of course. Talk soon. See you, Prophet.
Thanks, Prophet. Take care.
Very cool stuff.
Dude,
we gotta
nice.
jump straight to Ranga, but
Let's do it.
MetaDAO 2.0 seems pretty cool. I really like this thinking. Like clearly an evolution of the system is happening in the progress. Guys, our next show here is coming up is Ranga from Solomon Labs. Solomon Labs has been grinding in the background, doing a lot of work. They just got done with some audits. I think they're ready to really get this ball rolling, and I think it's an exciting time. Of course, we just talked about the $2 million treasury proposal that was raised by MetaDAO to go into USDV and start earning some of this yield. So we're going to get Ranga up here, talk through the updates. We appreciate him being patient, 15 minutes over time. Oopsies. Ranga, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. Thanks for coming on today. We've been talking a little bit recently, and you guys have some exciting stuff going on. So we want to talk about it. And again, thanks for the patience in the backstage there. We had a lot to talk about.
I'll blame Prophet. I'm going to talk to him separately.
Yeah. Are you still in San Francisco right now?
No, I came back at a red eye last night or the night before. I totally wrecked my schedule, but yeah, happy to do this.
Okay, as it does. Well, next time you see him, you'll have to shake him for us because that's ridiculous. No. So what's been going on? You guys have been grinding in the background. We've already had the full Solomon conversation on the show, so we're not gonna really give a re-update to everybody, but you guys have changed some things, so I want to touch on that.
Yeah.
But what's been going on, man? Frankly.
Yeah. So I think most people have context around what we're building. In April, we were at Solana Incubator. We were gearing up for opening up broader access to USDV from a retail consumer side. And around that time, we saw firsthand what happened with the drift exploit. And then shortly after it was kelp DAO. And prior to that, it was Resolve. And that really made us pause for a second. There was a lot of things that we had planned to change about the architecture, about USDV, and the drift exploit just accelerated a lot of those thoughts in terms of whether we should pull the trigger and make those updates now versus holding off for another 6 months to a year. The reason that conversation occurred then was a lot of it was due to the type of product we're building. So if the contract for USDV is deployed, once it's deployed and there's proliferation and usage of USDV, it's very difficult to upgrade that program and replace it with a new one where there would be sort of this mass migration. And the core of it was mostly due to the way the original USDV contract was structured. It was built really in 2024, 2025 with a different view or a lot of, I would say, influence from that regulatory environment. It was a very rigid program. It was safe, but there was really no upgrade path. There was no recourse if something went wrong in terms of an exploit, right? There was no freeze functionality built in. And then just the way the product evolved, and what our counterparties needed, and then there's this gap around what people were looking for from a stablecoin product. There was a lot of opportunity to improve the core program, make it upgradable, have policies set in place, have guardrails around mint redeem, have freeze functionality, even modularity around projects that are using USDV within their apps. Giving them the functionality of actually freezing a limited freeze within their contracts as well.
So when you guys did some of this reflection and thinking, what was the outcome you came to on like, what do people want from a stable coin?
Yeah. On the contract side itself, it was pretty clear that people wanted something that did have some level of freeze functionality. That was like a core one. That if something went wrong, that there could be some action taken to at least stop the bleed or control the blast radius. And I think a lot of contracts that were built prior to really LLMs taking front seat in their ability to expose exploits. The prior versions were really around like, hey, let's do an audit. Let's make sure everything, if the audit passes, we're good to go. Now the thinking is more, hey, have the expectation that something can and will go wrong. Yeah. And how do we control and limit what happens when something goes wrong? So that's sort of like a fundamental shift from like what contracts were built like maybe 5 years ago versus what's being built now. And then the other core part of it was the old model was using basis trade for its yield source. Basis trade yields have compressed. They've never really recovered after post 1010. And our counterparties that want to use stablecoins have expressed pretty clearly that the max exposure or risk that they want to take on is something like what USDC reserves look like, which is short-dated treasuries, right, or cash equivalents. And that's the extent. And they want to minimize any amount of sort of execution risk or even smart contract risk that is underlying the stablecoin itself. So, we just realized, hey, this isn't the best risk adjusted return that we can give for a stablecoin. And people just want something that looks more like USDT, USDC in terms of the reserve composition. So that was one component of it. And then the other component was this promise that we were making through what we were calling the YAS infrastructure, which was this idea that you can earn rewards without having to stake, put into a vault, or interact with any additional programs. That was architected for B2B select users and not for the masses. And we just said, okay, hey, look, like we have this opportunity where we can now implement YAS so that it's available to anyone and everyone. That could be an end user holding $10, or it could be a market maker deploying millions of dollars across multiple different venues. So yeah, there was two things we did. We changed the reserve architecture. We changed the YAS infrastructure itself so that it could scale, and then we upgraded the programs to reflect a lot of the security concerns that we had. And we did this all within the last 2.5 months, which is probably would not have been possible in any way if this was even a year ago. And so it is pretty incredible that we were able to pull this off in these 2.5 months, even though it felt like a very, very long time.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I'm going to walk it back to that conversation on the contract freezes, and we'll touch on some other stuff as well. But it seems like, a year ago, everyone was, we hate Tether, we hate Circle because it's too centralized, and we kind of want to move towards a more decentralized nature, a more decentralized nature. And then we started seeing a lot of exploits, largely, I think, driven by AI and some of the emergences there. And there was people that said, well, Drift got exploited for a ton of money. There's only a few actors that can move that amount of money. Like, why did they not have a freeze contract in place? And it seems like we've shifted from, okay, decentralized is cool, but like it's not quite applicable yet in the current state of things. From your perspective and your thinking, and obviously you've implemented this freeze in the contract to where like there is protections around that, but where do you think we go in terms of the decentralized nature of a stablecoin? Do we only continue to get more centralized as legislation passes, as we have freezes in the contract? And then like, what's the difference from a stablecoin and just another centralized currency like the US dollar, where we can freeze it if you're going to war with someone and, Russia wants to get their money out of the bank accounts and the United States says no? What's your thinking on this?
I think both models will exist and they'll serve different purposes. And I think when it comes to something being credibly neutral, a lot of that can be solved for, or the need for that can be fulfilled via just native cryptocurrencies like Solana, like Ethereum, like Bitcoin, and they may not have that stable component. The reality is that there is sort of a trilemma problem around stablecoins, right? If you try to build decentralized currencies like the ones we saw with MakerDAO in its earlier models, where you have over collateralized CDPs or CDP model, like there's inefficiencies. Like that's the reality. That's the trade-off. If if you want decentralization, it comes with a level of inefficiencies. And so how do you balance these things? And I think being realistic about what it is that you're building is really important. Most, even now with Sky, right, a lot of the backing is just through USDC itself, which is ultimately a centralized, stablecoin. So I think we have to be honest with ourselves about like the theater of decentralization, like these currencies or stable coins that are saying they're decentralized. Like if the underlying reserves are centralized, like effectively they are centralized as well. I think we will see a niche market for stablecoins that are truly decentralized and credibly neutral. There's a few projects that are working on this, and I think we do have a need for that. But for the mass adoption that's needed for stablecoins, the efficiencies that come through some level of centralization are just the reality.
Got you. Something I also want to touch on before we even progress a little further is this OUSD. Obviously, we saw, this consortium of people come together, talk about OUSD. We had this conversation actually as well. It seems like something that's not just an immediate problem. It probably won't manifest for another 6 to 12 months. Likely, this stuff takes time. But if you had to think about OUSD and how it affects Solomon or stablecoins, the scene in general, I would love to get your thoughts there. And for those that are unfamiliar with the context, maybe even help people understand a little bit better.
Yeah, so OUSD is a standard that is put together, or a consortium of companies that are coming together, agreeing upon a specific standard for a stable coin. And it's primarily driven by Stripe and Bridge, and I guess to a degree Tempo. So there, 140 companies have come together and said, hey, we're going to create or agree upon using a stablecoin where the underlying economics are shared. Each company that's using this stablecoin will get their share of revenue that essentially is generated by the reserves themselves. So basically, like a stablecoin typically is backed by treasury bills, especially if it's something like a payment stablecoin as defined by Genius Act. The consortium is saying that, hey, if you're a partner in this consortium, the revenue generated from the underlying reserves will be shared, and then there will be minimal mint redeem costs associated with that. That's the crux of it. The question just becomes, well, what are the chances, or what is the likelihood that this actually gets adoption, and what kind of problems is it overcoming? I think Prophet was here, kind of touched on this a little bit too. The reality is that people like Circle, Paxos, and other stablecoin issuers, most of them are already working with people who are the primary distributors of their stablecoin to share economics. Some of them are locked into certain deals, like Circle, who have a relationship with Coinbase, where a certain amount of their economics is tied to, where Coinbase basically gets a majority of the cut there. But, Circle needed Coinbase for the initial distribution to begin with. But I think everyone understands that in order to get stablecoin distribution, you need the distributor, or you need the person that owns the customer relations is the one that sort of dictates or has the leverage. So OUSD, in my view, is it'll be very interesting to see what their actual go-to-market strategy is. A lot of the partners that were listed are names that are already executing their own stablecoin strategy. So the level of commitment there is in question, whether they've actually agreed to saying, hey, yeah, we're all abandoning our existing stablecoin strategies and adopting OUSD. We know that's just simply not the case, just having known some of the partners listed. And then there's also some news around the Korean market, where I think 13 of the companies listed in the consortium have come out and said, hey, we actually never committed to anything. We were just in conversations. And I guess like one more thing about consortiums in general, they are harder to, it's harder to move things along. And there's a lot of questions about what that actual governance structure looks like. Who's going to lead? Who's going to take the step forward? Who's going to, establish a lot of the liquidity provisions that needed for the adoption for OUSD? There's a lot of hard parts that you need to overcome in order to get adoption for your stablecoin, and I think those questions are just unanswered at this point. And it's hard to gauge the seriousness of it.
Got you. Yeah, thanks for that answer. I didn't mean to derail you, but I felt like it's prevalent to this conversation.
Yeah.
I want to talk about where we're at in the life cycle of Solomon. Again, you kind of made these switches following the drift exploit and some of the other exploits that came before. Where are we today? You guys did some of the audits. You changed a bit of the system here. Where do we stand?
We're finally, I think, at a point where we're starting to see the rollout, right? The audit has completed. We're starting a second audit in parallel to while we roll out USDV. And part of that rollout, interestingly enough, it's sort of a full circle moment where we chose MetaDAO as a place to raise, and MetaDAO is now choosing Solomon as a way to make their treasuries productive, right? So this is like the first announcement that'll go out, that has gone out. There's many more lined up, and the path here is you'll start to see a very deliberate rollout of USDV starting this week. And yeah, the kickoff is the MetaDAO treasury itself. There's more to come. And then in between all of that, there will be a rollout of access for retail consumer. And here, again, the value prop is you have the UX of something like USDC, USDT, but the benefit of the underlying reserves and the economics in a way that, hey, you're just earning while you're using your stablecoin.
Can you explain that key difference here? I guess what makes you unique? You get the economics of the underlying reserve and yield rather than USDC or USDT, which actually doesn't streamline into you. Could you explain that to anyone that's unfamiliar?
Yeah. So every stablecoin that exists has some sort of backing, right? Unless it's sort of self-referential, like we saw in Luna and whatnot. But there's some sort of backing that determines or that gives us the intrinsic value, right? You issue 1-1 backed with treasury bills or short-dated treasury bonds, and those generate revenue, right? Typically around 3 to 5%, depending on what the rates are. And so usually an issuer keeps most of that for themselves, or they have relationships or partnerships with distributors, those that own the customer relationship. What we're saying here is sort of a new model. And I describe it as, hey, we're generating reserve economics, but we're creating reward structures as a way to get to give the benefit back to the user. But the eligibility of that will be driven by some set of policy, and that policy, that what applies to you is specific to where your jurisdiction is or whether you're eligible or not.
Sure.
But in very, very simple terms, the idea is that, hey, you now can hold USDC and earn 3 to 4%.
Interesting. And I want to talk about this go-to-market a little bit more. We'll talk about the MetaDAO relationship, for example. $2 million from the Treasury has been proposed to go into USDV. Of course, there's a vote up. It's likely that passes. Now they can earn some of the yields on that. With that said, what does this look like? You have these partners. We know, based on our conversation we just had with Profit, they have $12 million in the reserve. And if they actually put some of that to work, they can hire, a $150,000 plus San Francisco full-time engineer. Like, it's important to have this yield. What does the customer journey look like for you guys? And I've seen this, I think I relate it to the compute market right now. There are these compute platforms that sell compute to people, and they start off with a small amount of their budget, but the longer they spend time with them, that grows from, say, $2 million in this case to maybe the full 12 million or half of their, whatever exposure they want to do. How do you go from something like MetaDAO giving $2 million of their treasury to USDV or putting in USDV to, growing that pie over time? And what does the go-to-market look like for everybody that's a customer of yours?
Yeah, the go-to-market's fairly straightforward here. We have to a lot of the adoption comes from a place of trust, and that trust is derived from being in the market, um, or a component of being in the market, and that's often then reflected back into your TVL, right? So for us, it's about this deliberate rollout in offering a product that no one else can. So in the case of the MetaDAO treasuries, one of the unique constraints they have is the capital can't actually leave the DAO governed or the Futarchy governed DAO wallet, right? And if they were to go and use some other type of yield product, they're forced to actively manage that or deploy that across whatever venue or smart contract or whatnot. So they're taking on all this additional smart contract risk, and they're having to move the capital to outside of their treasury. And then the other constraint there is that oftentimes these products are very clunky in nature. So even when they earn yield, that yield is earned back into a vault structure, a stake component, and they have to unwind that and then be able to move it to wherever else, right? What we're saying is, hey, you don't have to have any additional smart contract risk. You don't have to have any deployment actively across DeFi to earn this yield. And more importantly, you can actually direct the yield generated to any wallet without any active management. So here they're earning in place in the MetaDAO treasury, and then they can route the yield generated directly to the OpEx wallet. So now they can pay the salary right out of that wallet.
Yeah.
And they have a ton of flexibility around what to do with that yield itself versus it earning right into the MetaDAO treasury wallet and then them having to actively manage it, right? So that is like a unique value prop that exists for treasuries, especially MetaDAO treasuries, but that then is applicable to actually even everyday users, right? The same value prop exists, and actually you as an end user, the benefit here is for the Yas infrastructure is that you can now have a principal wallet where you hold USDV, and then you can actually set where you want your yield directed to. So you can have a completely separate wallet that's your hot wallet. Let's say that hot wallet is directly tied to something like a neobank spend wallet, and your yield is directly streamed there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that no one else in the market offers at this moment. And this is all done touchless. There's no contract interactions. There's nothing on chain that ties the principal to the end, to the stream wallet or the yield wallet itself. So just going back to your question, to your point about like how do we see this growing? It's I think the MetaDAO conversion is a hint towards what's coming next about where we'll see a lot of that growth. And then second, as it's a compounding effect, a network effect of like as we start to grow TVL time in the market, and because we have a unique offering, we'll start to see more and more users come on board and use USDV. And then the benefit of having a live token there's alignment from the community who are solo holders that will now, who are using USDC, USDT will have a reason to now use USDV on top of what it being a better product offering.
It seems like we're pretty much ready for this rollout to go live. You guys are in the final stages of it. If I have to ask, when can we expect this to go live? And I kind of think there's 3 buckets you guys tap into. It's like really established projects, the Jupiters, the Meteoras, you name it. Mm-hmm. There's projects that have just launched. Maybe they just launched, they're earning all these fees and they want to put it to work at some way. A pump fund launch, maybe it's a MetaDAO launch, whatever it might be. And then there's like the retail bucket. So these are the 3 buckets that I kind of see. How do you plan on, or what's your approach on, I guess, attacking and growing the pie for all of these individual buckets?
So we know we have a surety on certain buckets here in terms of a minimum amount of TVL growth over the course of the next few months, right? And a lot of those will be treasury conversions. And then the other path is quote pairs. So USDV being a quote pair for other assets. We have certain relationships lined up there. So seeing USDV in action as a quote pair is going to be a proving of the thesis that we've been building for a while, and I think that will start to accelerate adoption there. And then I guess to your question in terms of the three buckets, it's all of these. Like there's compounding effects, right? Like once you see adoption in one place, it becomes social proof, and it becomes a place where we build trust. And then it carries over into these other buckets as we roll it out. There's a specific rollout strategy we have, which is like treasuries first, retail consumer, and then in parallel these quote pairs that you're going to see.
Nice.
I will say there's one more piece that I think most people are missing in all of this. There's a whole nother bucket that exists that we don't really talk about openly. And that's the B2B adoption of the Solomon infrastructure. So that's for stablecoin or asset issuers themselves that are looking to leverage our YAS infrastructure for their own stablecoin. And they have existing distribution corridors, and they're looking for ways to route economics based on policy. So the idea that, hey, how do we become compliant to Clarity when Clarity, language is finalized? How do we become compliant to whatever local jurisdiction or whatever rules we want to set? And there's a lot of work that's been done in parallel for that. Those types of relationships take a long time to establish and build. But then those also compound, and we're looking forward to making those announcements once we're ready.
So you have something lined up for this potentially?
Yes.
Can we expand upon this B2B offering a little bit more? Because I think a lot of people need to understand the underlying system to understand why this is even a thing. And so you'll be a better explainer than myself, but how I'm understanding it is these stablecoin issuers and providers cannot legally streamline yields to their holders. They cannot legally do it, but you guys can kind of get plugged in there as the infrastructure that enables that. Am I understanding this correctly? And, is this an offering that's appetizing to current stablecoin issuers?
So there's a few different layers to this. It's not just about the legal side of it. It's actually has to do with the idea of just routing economics. And what I mean by routing economics here is just like a fancy way of saying it could be as simple as like routing rewards. Like how do you give rewards to certain actions that exist on chain? When you saw PayPal launch PYUSD, right? They engaged with 3 to 4 different parties to orchestrate and coordinate the rollout of that and the distribution of rewards in order to get PYUSD adoption, right? They didn't have a simple, sort of straightforward, streamlined way to say, hey, we want to get PYUSD adoption for, let's say, quote pairs on chain. They couldn't administer that program themselves. So they hired various parties, and it's this fragmented process where people were literally using Excel sheets or bespoke integrations or build outs to have this rollout of a strategy. So like when you look at the layers of like asset issuers, right, you have the issuers themselves. These are like Anchorage. You could think of them like Anchorage as an issuer, right? Then you have distributors, right? Distributors are those you can think of like MoneyGram, Western Union, etc. They're the ones that are using Anchorage to issue their stablecoin, and now they want adoption of their stablecoin in their existing corridors, like where they know they want the stablecoin, to be used, right? The question then becomes, how do you make the stablecoin behaviorally preferred within your existing quarter of distribution, right? And the mechanism to incentivize the usage of those stablecoins, that mechanism is right now fragmented across like multiple different parties and ways. Like there's vault structures, there's stake structures, there's like different legal structures to do that. And what we've done is we've built a system, an administrative, or you think of a control plane that allows a distributor or an issuer to directly manage this in a way where they can define the rules and then set how this is routed and settled. There's a lot of like intricacies to this. Like it's like once you deep dive into this space, you start to understand the actual problem. But hopefully that makes sense. So the idea is that Solomon infrastructure is enabling or allowing for issuers and distributors to have a control plane in order to manage the economics of their assets.
I think many of us are unfamiliar with like the total addressable market here. And obviously it's probably tough to pinpoint a number on it just because of the massive growth we're seeing in stablecoins across the board. But if you had to like maybe put a number on the total addressable market specifically of this kind of B2B offering that you guys are thinking of, is there a number that comes to mind?
I mean, if you just look at I listed a few names, MoneyGram, Western Union, PayPal, all of these asset issuers, even just within the stablecoin space, they're routing billions, right? In terms of what exists within their existing network. And they're looking to get adoption of their stablecoins within that network. And then the routing of economics is, hundreds of millions of dollars per year. And that's just on the base. Let's say if it was measured based on just T-bill rate. And that's not including their own incentive structures where they might want to deploy extra capital to incentivize certain things. Just between these few issuers, if you look at the scale at which stablecoin adoption is happening, it's a percentage of that. And that's expected to grow to trillions in just the next few years.
Copy that. One question for Crypto Jones, which I think is actually really interesting, and we've had this direct conversation. I mentioned I was invested in Circle to you a little while back, and we had this conversation of being kind of like the only place you can get exposure to stablecoins. Crypto Jones' question is: am I understanding this correctly? Solomon Lab's vision has become the people's circle. I guess maybe the people's stablecoin. Just general thinking about that and how you're thinking about the ability to get exposure to stablecoins in general right now, since we know a lot of them are private companies. Outside of Circle, there's really no good option.
Yeah, I think it was like Thread Guy or someone else. I saw some commentary around this on Circle where I think Circle trades at the stock trades at a premium because there really is no exposure, a real exposure to the stablecoin market, right? I think we represent through ownership coins one of the few ways you can have true exposure to stablecoin infrastructure. I think the ownership coin model here is really important. There is no equity. There's no other token. All value accrues back to the token. It really is, hey, betting on Solomon or Solo token is a way to bet on the future of stablecoin infrastructure.
Bang, bang, bang. I love it. You guys are doing big things. We're excited for this rollout. Any dates, timeframes we can expect this to really kick into high gear?
So we should expect to see the MetaDAO proposal come out in the next day or so. I know they have the credible launch happening right now, so there might be a little bit back and forth there. And then the big one is that'll kick things off. We'll also be deploying the new program, and then new docs, new updates regarding how all of this work is dropping in this week as well.
Love it. Ranga, it's always a pleasure talking to you. You guys are cooking, working hard. We appreciate the hustle on the back end, and it's great to get you on here and really break down some of the stuff you've been doing internally. So we really do appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure, Dom. Take it easy, guys.
See you. Peace.
Take it easy.
Bye.
Chill. Let's get you a couple
bro.
minutes here. What do you, any thoughts there? Because I, butted you out a little bit, and I apologize.
No, you're good. Honestly, I mean, people's stablecoin. I think it's really bullish that they're opening up the that YAS component to like all users. I think that's a really powerful driver of growth for them. I mean, you're opening, you're increasing your TAM, right? You're not just going after businesses. Now you're going after really anybody that operates on chain, whether you're a trader, a founder, or anywhere in between. You basically have the ability to kind of denominate in their stablecoin and just passively earn yield. I mean, think of all the treasuries, that teams, whether they're on Solana or wherever, imagine how many people would take advantage of that. I mean, MetaDAO obviously sees the value. They could pay for a whole other engineer. So yeah, cool. Very, very. I love what Solo's doing.
Just makes sense. Boys, we got a big one coming up. The most recent MetaDAO raise, which just went live right now. We're going to get you the full breakdown, see if it's investable, see what's going on, understand everything from founder to project to team to the whole nine, boys. So we got Shri here in the waiting room. If he's good to go, we can pull him up right now. Just gonna maybe get a thumbs up or something. All right, let's do it,
he's
boys.
Ready.
All right, the man, the myth, big day. Shri, welcome to the show, CEO of Credible Finance. We're excited to chat and just get the scoop.
Hey, Dinero. Hi, Chill. Am I calling you right? Nice to meet you.
Yes. Yes, we're hearing you loud and clear. How's everything going on your side?
Amazing. We just went live and we actually got oversubscribed as well. So it was, yeah.
You're oversubscribed already?
Yes, within 3 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just checking with the MetaDAO team, like, is this right? Like, I just wanted to confirm.
You can't believe it, huh?
So you're multitasking right now. Then you gotta let us know what they say. But that's pretty cool. I mean, we did see this and we covered this specifically before you came on. Prophet said funds have already soft committed 2.3 million of the max $4 million raise. This process of soft commits help ensure that we bring quality market teams get funded. So you guys have completed the raise. You might not really be entirely sure what happens next here, but like, have you guys hit the max cap? Have you guys gotten all the funding you need? Like what even happens from here? And we're going to get the full breakdown, but we got to cover this.
Yeah, I mean, we are actually 2x of max cap right now. So I think we have already got all the funding that we were looking for. What happens next is more in terms of, like we have mentioned on the race page as well as on our roadmap and everything. Like, we want to continue focusing on strengthening the infrastructure so that we can scale up our volumes and acquire Canadian MSP this year. The next year we are targeting Singapore MPI, then we are targeting EMI in Europe. So like this, we have a full roadmap.
Okay, I got this pulled up, and we're gonna get into the roadmap and everything. I got this pulled up. Yeah, $8.7 million committed here with 3 days and 23 hours left.
Wow.
This is a record. We've never seen. And we had this exact conversation with Prophet again earlier. It was like, for majority of all the raises until Lasso kind of changed how it works, we've seen everyone pile in towards the end. Rally, this is the opposite. We just got massive piling in at the start. So we're gonna walk it back. We want to get the full story. Obviously, it looks like at this point you may not get filled on the MetaDAO market, but you can buy off the secondary when this does launch. So we want to talk through kind of what this project looks like, why people are so excited for it clearly, and obviously get your thoughts and feelings as we do this live here. But Shri, start us off with a bit on yourself. Give us your background. I know you're an exited founder before, so a bit of an entrepreneur. Maybe talk us through the lore behind you, and then we can get into the project.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give a quick, background on how I started my career and all that stuff. So I've been in payments for nearly 14 years now. I started my career in 2011. Worked with a company called Gemalto back then, which was a card issuing company in Nice, south of France. Worked with them for almost 4 years. Then I moved to Copenhagen, worked with a company called Cellpoint Digital, which is a pretty popular payment service provider for travel industry, dealing with Denmark Railways as well as Emirates and a bunch of other airlines. After that, I moved to UK, worked with a company. It was more like a startup called Anatwine, which was doing brand and e-commerce payment settlement. Worked there for a short time, and then, they pivoted. So I moved to Singapore. I was, planning to do something of my own. And that's when I got into crypto. So this was in 2018. So in 2018, I basically started doing independent consulting in Singapore, in Thailand, in Southeast Asia. It was more like a backpacking plus independent consulting thing. Did that for almost 4 years till 2021. And post-COVID, I wanted to, do something good for the society. So I went back to India, started a healthcare financing startup, me and my co-founder. and then we did around 15,000 micro loans between $300 to $1,200 within a span of 18 months. It was good in terms of the like doing something for the society and so on, but we were not really making that much money. And also managing 15,000 customers is something I was doing for the first time. It wasn't that easy. And that's when we got a good proposal from a larger fintech. Then they acquired us. We after that, me and my co-founder, we thought, okay, let's do something at the intersection of Web3 and traditional finance. So that's when in 2024 we started with Credible. Initial idea of Credible was more around trade finance. So we actually spent 6 months in Saudi Arabia, trying to secure like a LP to move money between Asia and Middle East.
That's Saudi money.
Yeah, get the Saudi money, Bahraini money as well. And then we could just secure 100K, but it was fun of experience and first time doing something on my own in international market. We learned pretty quickly it's hard to educate people like why we are doing it on stable coins, why this is needed and all that. Also, the kind of borrowers we were attracting were the people who were getting rejected from the banks. So we were not able to attract the right borrowers because people normally go to the banks for trade finance, and then if it's not working out there, then they would come to us. So we were not able to underwrite them. And that's the same time we came across a private credit fund from SF called Corius Finance. And Corius Finance was already working with Centrifuge and Goldfinch. And they liked that Credible had like a loan management system as well as private credit marketplace. And that's when they said, okay, we will use your platform, we will deploy capital, but we will deploy it in Africa. And we will not have, I mean, me and my co-founder, we will not have any say in like the underwriting process and business decisioning and all that. We will be just the tech in front. We will make a like a cut on the whole volume. So that's when we were like, okay, let's get started with this. At least we will get some good stats on the platform, and we will maybe able to secure another LP who will be comfortable with us doing the underwriting. So we continued that way until September last year. And in September last year, we came across a remittance app here in US, and they were focused on remittances to Asia. And they asked if we can do payment financing, quite similar to trade finance, plus if we can do the payouts like the settlement in Asia. So that's when we said like, okay, let's give it a shot, because I also come in from the PSP background. I could quickly understand the requirement, and that's how we organically pivoted in September. Since September till March, we were only doing payouts, and we were doing basically US and South Asia. And then we decided to why don't we do collections as well? So it will be more like collections in South Asia and then settlement in US. So that's when we kind of pivoted to be more like a full-fledged PSP, doing both collections and payout for US businesses in emerging markets. Fast forward, we entered other markets in Southeast Asia as well, and since then we have done a little over 800 million now in total volume since September last year, and we have done revenue of little over 1.8 million. Is the gross revenue on the total. Yeah. So that has been the journey, and a little bit about my co-founder. We both have been working together directly, indirectly for almost 8 years, and he has done MS in AIML from Liverpool, and he's my junior actually from the same college. So we have good rapport, and we have been doing a lot of things together. Yeah.
Incredible. You guys have a lot of numbers from the start. Like, again, you mentioned kind of the journey here, and you were like, well, let's get this going. So we have numbers literally starts off, and the growth here is incredible, right? A 29% month-on-month growth for the last 6 months. 32 million December, 44 million, and this is volume, of course. 58 million in February, 72, and then in June you did 146 million. Just incredible growth. Where is the majority of this growth coming from? What are you seeing in terms of this space evolving? How are you guys positioned to capture it and continue this just incredible exponential curve here?
So I would say a lot of it is my prior network in terms of payment space. Most of the clients are a mix of, I would say, remittance app as well as entertainment businesses. So the ratio is like 40% of the volume is coming from remittances, 30% is coming from creator apps, predominantly in Southeast Asia. Then we have got like 15% drop shipping businesses where, like people in countries like India, then Sri Lanka and so on, they are basically buying stuff from Vietnam and selling it in Europe and US. So that kind of drop shipping clients are almost 15%. Then we have got 8% pure entertainment, which includes gaming, micro dramas, all these kind of things. And nearly 7% is e-commerce, more experimental, like car rental stuff, peptides, and all these kind of things. So we essentially, connect businesses which are incorporated in Europe, which are incorporated in US, but they are looking for customers in emerging markets. And most of these businesses, they face the challenge that when they work with Stripe or when they work with any of these, mass payment gateways, they either get rejected or they have like 7 to 11 days of settlement time and plus a massive fees of like 7 to 8% FX plus whatever the transaction fees. What we have done is we essentially make a T plus zero settlement for them. We support the local payment methods, and we are much cheaper than whatever Stripe and all these other guys would charge them. Also, we work with them, whereas others usually reject them. So yeah.
What does the competition look like in the space? You mentioned that you support the local payment methods. Based on my experience, that it's very difficult to do that, especially as you really niche down in some of these emerging markets in different countries. Just getting support for these currencies is very, very difficult. What do you guys do differently than Stripe specifically? And you kind of just touch on that, but what does the competition look like in general? And how are you guys edging yourself out from the competition?
Right. So the way we position ourselves is more like an orchestrator and not an acquirer. What it means is if I'm an acquirer, I have to have like a local legal presence, central bank approval, and all that stuff. So we partner with the local acquirers. The local acquirers support the local payment methods. These local acquirers still give us the money after 2 days, 3 days, or 7 days, whatever their standard is. But on our side, we are underwriting the risk per transaction. We have built like our own, like risk AI, we call it. We initially built it for the trade finance underwriting, but now we underwrite, each transaction. And if the risk AI score is more than 9.5, then we front the liquidity from our DeFi pool with the merchant and make an instant settlement. So 85% of our transactions are instant settled. 15% of our transactions are usually not settled. They are settled after the acquirer settle with us. And the main reason is because the customer is first time user on our merchants platform. So that has been, I would say, one of the main reason why 15% of the transactions are not instantly settled. Yeah.
Very interesting. Could you also touch on those numbers again? You mentioned numbers earlier, but I kind of missed them. They were very high. I'm talking about volume and revenue and growth in general. And then I guess we'll parlay that into the next question, which is how you guys continue growing that. I have a map pulled up of where you guys offer your services. I'd like to know how that expands in the future. But again, kind of starting back at the current numbers and metrics that you guys are doing.
So I'll tell you, these numbers are actually very small. Let's compare us with, for instance, Stripe, right? So Stripe does $1.6 trillion a year. Then we talk about someone who is more comparable to us, which is CoinFlow. They're pretty popular in US. They also use stablecoin for settlement. They are doing, to my knowledge, a little over $8 billion a year. And then we can talk about more mid-sized players. They are still doing like 60-70 billion dollars a year. So we are like very small. We are actually very very early, and I've been in payment space. The numbers might look like very big. We make a small cut on every transaction, and it is it's a volume game because let's take a remittance app, right? A single remittance app on an average, a small to mid-size app does anywhere between 20 to 25 million dollars in volume a month. And if we get even 4 clients, that's like $100 million a month. So we right now have 11 clients altogether. 12 clients now. And the largest client is doing approximately $20 million a month. So that's like 13% of our volume from the last month. And the steady growth is because most of these clients, they actually signed contracts with us in January, February, but to go live, it takes some time. We operate with something called merchant on record as a setup, where there are local entities which are onboarded with the local acquirers, managing the local taxation and everything, and it takes time for us. the infrastructure cost is probably like 70% of our burn rate. And I mean, maybe not 70, little less than 70, but that's what we always keep in mind. And the resource cost is usually on an average 30-35%. So that's where the math is. In terms of like how we are planning to scale, how we are entering new markets, uh, we onboard new acquirers, we onboard like local companies which can help us set up the MORs and all that, local nominee directors and all that stuff, and manage the compliances. So entering any new market is a big expense for us. So we essentially focus on like, okay, we have set up this market, we have set up this particular customer base for this market. Now how do we monetize it, how we scale vertically, how we can maximize the volume. We make sure that every merchant on record is at least 70% utilized. So that's how we are like scaling right now. Like for confidentiality reasons, since in emerging markets the regulations are a bit complicated, I'm not able to give you like exact names on the emerging markets, but we are live only in 3 emerging markets right now. And on the developed markets, we are live in US, we are live in Europe, we will be live in UK pretty soon as well. So that's on the developed markets.
How much volume do you guys do every month right now?
So last month we did about 146, and this month we are projecting around 170. We are doing on a daily basis, on a regular day, between 3 to 3.5, and on pay days we do around 5.
Wow. I mean, because I'm just kind of going back to what you were saying earlier. You're like small to mid-size payment providers. I mean, like they're doing. I think you mentioned 20 to maybe 50 million a month. That's like small to mid-size. You guys are, I mean, are still early in the grand scheme of things when you look at the Stripes of the world, but very much into your growth as a business, which is very, very impressive.
Thank you. But I'll tell you, like when I say 20-25 million, I'm talking about consumer apps. We are not a consumer app. We are essentially the backbone of consumer apps. So for example, someone like Cast, they would work with people like us. Right now we have to get some licenses to pass the compliance requirement for someone like Cast. We already spoke to them, we already spoke to Pay team as well. But we are working on working with clients who are a bit smaller than Cast, smaller than Redot and all. I don't know the exact numbers of Cast, but I'm pretty sure they're doing at least 100 million a month. So these are the large size clients, that consumer apps that we are talking about. Credible is a PSP which sits in the backend. So for example, if you're using Cast or any stablecoin fintech, when you make a payout with that app, in the backend the payout would be routing through a PSP. That PSP is what we are.
Makes sense. Could I also jump in on, you mentioned it's a volume game, right? We want to grow these volumes. Margins are small, but grow these volumes. Can you talk me through a bit on what profitability looks like and what the take rate is for you guys?
Yeah. So right now we are making a blended around 20 bips gross, and we will optimize it as we get more licenses, because we don't have our own licenses. We only have the MSB in US, which allows us to work with other regulated partners. The other regulated partners take their own cut. So as, let's say, for example, once we have the US MSB with RPA registration, Canadian MSB with RPA registration, we will be able to operate in some of the emerging markets, because they have something called like a Nostro account, and those Nostro accounts we will get access to based on our remittance license in Canada. So these are, maybe it's like too technical, but these are some of the nitty-gritties that we have to work with. And based on that, we increase our take rate. Like if it's about like removing the middleman, basically.
Got you. Is 20 basis points the standard?
I would say, like, for example, the PSP I used to work for, they used to make like 5 bips, and it's because they were into card payments, and card payments are like damn expensive. Like it's the acquirer takes a cut, the bank takes a cut, and so on. Whereas in our case, we work with APMs. APMs are like PIX, UPI, with QR, like these are the APMs, alternate payment methods, and APMs are relatively less expensive. It's just that you need to secure those banking relationships and local PSP relationships. I mean, local acquirer relationships. So, but card payments are, they're definitely fancy. We also want to start supporting card payments, but that's not where our like GTM is. That's not where our focus is.
You mentioned relationships and you mentioned some of the customers you have. How do you guys go about growing these relationships, building new relationships? Is the BD team pretty robust? Is it you doing a lot of this groundwork here? What does that look like? Because I think a lot of this business kind of just comes back to hammering in those relationships. And of course, those relationships over time growing trust with you guys and scaling from a couple $1 million in volume to tens of millions to, maybe billions, depending on the partnership. But how do you guys hammer in those relationships? What does your BD team look like? What does that process look like from your perspective?
So right now, you're looking at the only sales guy and account manager, but
Man.
yeah, we have we recently hired like two people. I mean, I know them for a while. One is handling the onboardings, and another one is handling more the communication. Once the client is in. We plan to hire more BD, but to give you some perspective, we already have 20 more clients in pipeline for the next 6 months. Uh, the Once the client has confirmed, it's usually 30 days for us to actually go live with the customer, and we are comfortable with that because we don't want to stress test our entire merchant on record infrastructure and banking and acquirer infrastructure, because we are in a business where average speed of transaction is 20 seconds. Like if the transaction gets delayed, it's a chain of businesses which are built on top of us. Some people are not a consumer app, they are infra themselves, and then they have another infra built on top of their infra. So it's a chain of pipes, we call it. And then if one of the pipe goes down, everyone will be impacted. So we want to be very careful, like when we are working at the ground level, directly integrating with the banks and acquirers, that before we scale, we optimize. We know, for example, let's say if we enter a new market like Vietnam. I mean, I'm not Vietnamese, so I have to learn how it works there. I need to work with someone who has experience there. I need to, I don't know what is the average transaction capacity a bank has. I don't know what is the rate limit per transaction. What is the AML trigger? What is the RFI trigger? So many things are there. So we essentially have to learn those things, and you learn this only after doing transactions most of the time. You can theoretically prepare for everything, but in reality, when the actual transactions happen, that when you realize, okay, this type of transaction is probably not permitted for this size, and you need to have this document ready if the transaction triggers any RFI or AML. So yeah, so these are the small details that we work with while scaling.
Yeah, something I want to touch on too is you mentioned there's a lot of different consumer apps and products and infrastructure built on top of you guys. And if one thing in the system breaks, that can cause delays and a lot of issues. We know switching costs is a big moat. And I want to talk a bit about a moat in your business here. If you guys were to have something break or people left you, I guess the question I'm coming to is, what is the switching cost for people that are reliant on you right now? Is that part of your moat on building this system where people kind of have to rely on you, and for them to switch off is going to be costly and difficult? Would you say that's a bit of a moat that you guys have built in the system?
I would say there are multiple things. Number one is our ability to front the transaction. If you go on Credible's landing page, there is a how it works section, and that's where the diagram clearly states how the entire transaction works. And having a CD5 architecture, working with multiple acquirers for each market, I think you need to go on the landing page, the home page. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you go down. If you don't mind switching to the daylight one, because it will be more clear for everyone.
Yeah, right here. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So the diagram down there.
All
Yep.
right.
Thanks. So essentially, if you see here, when the customer is making a payment, we have an orchestration layer. That orchestration defines, based on the payment method, based on the risk metrics and everything, what type of merchant it is. If it is a stablecoin fintech, a prediction market, a gaming platform, or whatever, based on that, we route the transaction to acquirer. The acquirer will capture the transaction and confirm that this transaction is captured, and then provide us with the information the payment method, the age of the customer on merchant platform. When I say age, it's more like if it is a first time customer, if it's a 1-year-old customer with prior history and all that. So all these data points essentially goes to the underwriting AI, and then we create a risk score. The risk score has to be more than 9.5. Once it is more than 9.5, then we essentially fund the transaction from our DeFi pool to the merchant and give instant settlement. All this look pretty lengthy process, but all this happens within 20 seconds. So that's how we are, like settling. And the same thing goes for payout. Payout is more of a remittance flow. If you click on payout top there, you will see that
Right here. Oh, perfect.
yeah, so you will see like ACH, SEPA, and all this. So these are like usually used by remittance apps. For instance, if someone is making a ACH deposit, it's usually 24 hours for ACH to realize. But we already, front the transaction, do the scoring based on ACH not settled but confirmed, and then like the recipient in Vietnam or in Asia or South America gets the money right away. So that's how we are underwriting on the remittance flow as well.
Got you. Another question I want to ask about is you guys are doing this raise on MetaDAO. What was the thinking behind this? You mentioned a 1.5 or 1.6 million dollar annualized run rate figure
Yeah.
at the moment. Why are you guys seeking funding? What's the thinking behind the raise here?
Yeah, so to give you a perspective, like one is having licenses will give us let's say the confidence that we need from the clients like Cast and so on. So we need to have the licensing in place. That was one of the main motivation for raising. We could use some of the treasury, but as a founder, especially as someone who has been a founder for a while, you should always have runway in terms of years, not months. So I want to make sure like we have years of runway, and in parallel we are able to make those luxury expenses of buying licenses and stuff. So that's where the raise mindset comes from. And MetaDAO just feels right because see, Credible started as a DeFi protocol. We are a CDeFi architecture. If you see on the landing page, we call ourselves more like an open payment stack. What it basically means is like in today's state, if you're building a neobank, like a stablecoin neobank, you would go to Bridge, you would go to all these providers. They will ask you for a monthly minimum commit like 3K, 5K, plus you will go through a sales funnel, all that. In case of Credible, you just go in, sign up, get access to the APIs, build your neobank right away. You can also spin up your own pre-funding pool just like we have our own, and benefit from the entire stack. And this is why we position ourselves as an open payment stack. And we see us as a CDeFi architecture, and a token-based ownership model felt just right for us.
Got you. Here, I'm going to actually tab over to the ongoing raise right now because it's going fantastically. You just crossed $11 million in commitments. So congratulations there. So what happens next, right? You guys, get this money from the raise. It's clearly going to be successful. It already is. What's the next steps from here?
I think, like I said earlier, like we already are in discussion for getting the Canadian MSB plus RPA in place. Plus, we have some optimizations in terms of setting up new merchant on record for us to onboard some new clients. So that is the idea. For this quarter, the entire focus is optimization because and I'm being very candid here, like to give these kind of stats, for our MetaDAO launch. We were planning for MetaDAO for last 4 months or so. So we aggressively onboarded a lot of clients, which also means that we are pushing limits in terms of our infrastructure. So I want to take this quarter to basically focus on, optimizing the infrastructure, making sure everything is smooth and everything, and then onboard the next batch of customers in the next quarter. So that's where we are at. Those are some of the major expenses that we are looking at.
Got you. And I don't mean to keep circling back on the numbers, but I think it's a big, it's a big part of the story here. You mentioned you have 20 plus projects here in the pipeline. It takes about 30 days to get these things up and going. Right here, I had, again, the revenue. We've processed $784 million in payments to date with $146 million in June 2026, our largest month. That means our current revenue run rate is $3.5 million. With a blended take rate of roughly 2%, right? So these numbers are fantastic. And I want to talk about kind of projections here, right? I know projections can be scary and you don't want to miss on projections, but you have 20 clients in the pipeline ready to go, 30% month-on-month growth, $785 million of volume, $3.5 million run rate. What would your projections look like here for the remainder of 2026, for the coming quarters and months? Maybe what are you thinking about that?
I think we will surpass this. We should be easily doing $2 billion at least in the volume. We are going to complete, at least, we are going to do at least 500 million in this quarter. And I think we are on track, on the revenue run rate as well. I'm not going more aggressive this year because if you see again on our roadmap, the focus is like getting as much coverage as possible. And getting, when I say coverage, it's not just getting access to those APIs. It also means like we need to optimize to make sure that nothing breaks. Because we are very much like the ground level infra on top of which other infras are building, or on top of which other consumer apps are building. I mean, just imagine like you're using Cast and you're sending money to your friend, and suddenly it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And the fault is not of Cast; it's of someone like us. So we want to just make sure that these kind of things don't happen. And then yeah, I think this is what we are just focusing, like the coverage, the high availability, what we call, and the ability to meet the targets that we have stated, or maybe surpass them.
I want to touch on the goals because I think that's important as investors to understand like where your head's at. One thing that's interesting about MetaDAO is if there is an acquisition, token holders have to be paid out for that IP and for the rights. What are you guys building towards? Are you guys building towards an acquisition in the future? Is there an IPO you guys really are planning in the distant future? Is it maybe at some point profitability gets really good and we're doing dividends to holders? If you had to think about that, just end goal state that you guys are really building towards, what would that look like?
See, I'll tell you one thing. As a founder for almost like 7 years or so, I learned is you can't decide for what you want to do. Okay, it's the market that decides. The PMF decides. We don't know what's coming next. We don't know, where. Like right now, our creator apps volumes are growing. Maybe we become like the go-to creator infra for some reason. Snoop Dogg starts liking us for some reason. You never know, right? So the idea is like, I mean, I don't even want to think about acquisitions, IPO, and all. But one thing that I can tell you is because you brought up dividends and stuff, like we want to. I mean, I look at the token holder as good as my cap table in a way. I mean, again, disclaimer because profit will definitely raise this. Like this is not securities. This is like just voting rights through decision markets and so on. But I like to think it that way, and I want to pass on the benefits, the upside of whatever the business is doing to the token holders. Now, how do we do that is something I'm still learning. I will spend more time with the MetaDAO team and also with the other founders who raised on MetaDAO to understand how do we pass on these benefits to the token holders, because like everyone who has come in at this stage is basically very early into the project.
I think that
Yeah, we will have following rounds. That's one thing that I'm clear on. Not because we will not make enough revenue or something like that, but we want to be very big. We aim for someone like Stripe, but for the modern businesses, right? Like Stripe was built for when e-commerce was booming, the .com was booming. We are built for the era where like prediction markets are booming, stablecoin fintechs are booming, gaming is booming, crazy creator apps are booming. So we essentially are built for a different era, same way how Stripe was built for a different era. So that's where my head is at. And I mean, I think I strongly believe like if we keep servicing, the numbers will automatically come.
interesting. You mentioned we are planning for future rounds. Would that be through MetaDAO, and what would that, I guess, look like?
Yes, absolutely. So I'll tell you like going back to the open payment stack conversation, and I'm very, very much inspired by how MetaDAO has done their own raise, right? Like with the whole mechanism, and I'm still learning like how that works. But I have spoken to Profit about it, and I mean, we have not yet like materialized like how will that look like, but that's the idea, and it will always be via MetaDAO.
Got you. I also want to touch on this raise because, as Prophet and I mentioned before when we were talking, he mentioned the raise mechanism here is a bit different, where you guys did the roadshow, you kind of had soft commits going into this, and I think we actually reward some of the earlier contributors rather than like exactly pro rata and where people pile in towards the end. Clearly, again, you guys have had a very successful raise so far. What was different about this structure compared to some of the past structures, or how does this work? Who's guaranteed to get allocations? You guys did the soft commits. Maybe give me the full picture there.
Yeah. So I'm not very much knowledgeable about like how the previous raise were done. I mean, I've spoken to the founders who raised earlier, but I am not familiar with the nitty-gritties in terms of like who committed, how the allocation worked for them. But in our case, like it's super clear. Like I wanted 50% cushioning, and the cushioning came from the liquid funds, so that I don't make a fool of myself when we go public. And 50% is pure opportunity for the retail. So that's how the mindset is. That's why we did like 2 to 4, where we had like little over 2 million in comments. And whatever you're sharing right now, to be honest, it's a surprise to me as well. Like I had no clue. So
Well, this is absolutely the most successful early minutes of any MetaDAO launch we've ever had. $12 million committed. It's been less than an hour. I mean, that's incredible. That's incredible. It really is. Again, if you said you're not super familiar with some of the past raises, like we have absolutely not seen something like this at all. So super cool. One thing I want to touch on, I think, in terms of growth and where your current focus is you mentioned you have partners in the pipeline. You mentioned how you're planning on growing. I do feel like it's a snowball effect where as you build trust, people start pushing more volume through you and you guys become, like a core of their business. How have you seen this play out in the past? And I guess, how are you planning for it to play out in the future where companies go from maybe 10% of their volume flowing through you to 20 to 30 to 50 to 100 at some point as you guys build that relationship and trust? I circle it back to this question: where does your core focus lie today, and how do you guys plan on growing the current customer base into much larger users, power users?
So I'll tell you, like, the focus is not on doing more sales as of now, at least, because we have enough pipeline, which is stress testing the infrastructure that we have. The focus is how we can scale the infrastructure. And like, just to give you an example from Friday, like, we onboarded a new client on Wednesday. The client said, okay, we will do 3 million a month. And on Friday, the client did 1.2 million just in one day. And this was also a new corridor for us. This was for Vietnam. And we were like, like, we have to arrange that much liquidity in Vietnam. I'm right now in San Francisco. My co-founder is in Dubai. And we were like, what the hell? And it's in the middle of the night. So, like, if people who are sending money, because it was a remittance use case, people who are sending money using my client's app, they are wondering why the money did not reach their family. So we had to, like, somehow, like, thanks to Solana super team and a bunch of other guys, like, they helped us, and immediately found liquidity and settled it right away. So these kind of challenges we deal with. We are, I would say, like, all the companies, like, and giving maybe a bit old example, but like Uber and all these guys, they are more operations company and less tech company. If you see from a point of view, like, they are delivering food like DoorDash, or Uber is doing taxi and stuff. And the same way, Credible is more operations company and less tech company. Like, I mean, tech is important, but tech is probably like 20-25% of what we do. Rest is operations, which includes liquidity management, which includes transaction monitoring, which includes payment method support and all that stuff. So we are like more operation heavy company.
I want to ask about this relationship with Solana. You said Solana stepped in, really helped you guys in a big way. This launch is a Coliseum sponsored launch on MetaDAO. What's the relationship with Solana, and then of course Coliseum, which was originally a Solana, a spinoff from some of Solana's offerings? Could you walk us through those relationships?
I mean, we are part of Colosseum's cohort 4. I'm right now sitting in Colosseum's office, actually.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah. So we are, I mean, I'll tell you, like, one amazing thing that I feel is, like, we got into Solana in 2023 Q4, and my co-founder, like, we always coded on Ethereum before that, right? So my co-founder was like, bro, why do you want me to learn Rust? Like, this is too much and all that. But for some reason, like, I just met super team guys, some random person on Twitter introduced me, and I was like, okay, I just like the vibe, man. Like, there was no other reason to come into Solana. Like, I just like the vibe of super team. And then we just went in, like, and then since 2024, like, we saw super team as a way for distribution, learning, guidance, everything. And after that, like, we participated multiple times for Colosseum, and then we won the Cypherpunk. Yeah, Cypherpunk. That's the one that we won. We got the second place on that, and after that, like, we got a validation, right? And based on that validation, we basically could attract, let's say, other Solana folks, other founders, and so on, more OG people, let's say. And that helped, and that also kind of helped us in our MetaDAO race. And when I met Colin, when I met Prophet, I was like, this is very interesting, and this is something I always thought of, for private equities and these kind of things. And what Profit is doing, what Colin is doing, what MetaDAO is doing is actually the future, because uh, we need to understand, like, in a way, the previous generation did a lot of things with .com, which did not feel conventional for that era. We are doing similar things now with MetaDAO. Who would have thought that stocks can, be tokenized and can be traded like this? I'm not sure what is the feeling the licensed broker dealer people have right now, but this is we never thought this would happen, right? Like,
Exciting.
there was a protocol back in the days called Mirror, which tried to do it, and they had legal issues. They had, their own trouble. But now regulations are more clear, things are more clear, so we are heading towards the right direction, and we want to be a PSP of this new era, and I think that's where, we're all heading to the right direction, and Solana is actually probably the best place to be.
Absolutely. We are friends with a few of the cohort 4 winners. Maybe let us know, explain kind of what that comes with. I think it's a $250,000 non-dilutive grant, as well as some acceleration for a couple months, I believe it is. Walk us through what happens after, winning a Coliseum hackathon and becoming, a part of the cohort.
Okay, so it is not non-dilutive; it's a proper investment with an accelerator. So it comes with a, like a cap table participation, and we, like when we got into Colosseum, we were already like prepared for MetaDAO. So there's something called stamp. So we did the stamp signing, and we got 300K instead of 250.
Nice.
And that's where, we were pretty clear, like, okay, we are getting into Colosseum purely for, doing MetaDAO in a way. So that was the mindset. We just didn't know like when it will happen, because our entire like accelerator was in January, and it took us nearly 4 or 5 months to prepare for this. So yeah, and also it's a confidence building exercise, because it's not like you just get up, okay, I'm Colosseum, I'm gonna raise now on MetaDAO. You have to secure, you have to secure those relationships. You have to prove, and that's what I like about people at Solana, Colosseum, Super Team, everyone. Like, they know that they can just give a handout, but they guide you. They don't give you a handout, and that helps you validate and learn a lot. And that's not the case with a lot of other ecosystems.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Very collaborative experience here. I want to talk about something that's very interesting, and I think I remember seeing a tweet that you guys mentioned. You're the first people to do this, where we're going to actually see you guys have profits start accruing to a treasury rather than drawing out every single month. Of course, with the MetaDAO properties, how it works is, some of the revenues go into the treasury. Maybe talk to me what that's going to look like. Are you excited about it? It seems like you'll be the first to really do this.
Yeah, I mean, I think Lasso also committed to something similar, if I'm not wrong. But my thought is like, I mean, I look at it as our treasury for the company, right? And we have an allowance, as well as whatever the net revenue is, we plan to push it back. And we look at it like a confidence building exercise, trust building exercise. We managed to win trust from the people who invested right now. We want to continue, building that trust when we raise our future rounds. And these people will continue to participate and support us only if we give them something back. So that's how I look at it. It's a very traditional, like a public listed company operates. So that's the mindset we are, building with. And yeah, so I think it will be. I mean, we already are training our fractional CFO how this is going to work, and how stablecoin based balance sheet works and all that. So I think he's getting ready for this.
Got you. And we do have to kind of gear towards wrapping up here because we have our next guest patiently waiting, and we've been a little late all day today. So with that being said, I want to also ask about tracking this stuff as your revenue, volume, numbers, treasury, as it grows. Is there going to be somewhere where we can keep track of it, where it's right there in a clean interface?
Yeah, it is on Dune. Like, if you go on our website and resources and there's metrics, just click on it. It will take you to Dune.
Okay, got you. Perfect. We have a few community questions I want to bring up that are really, really good. Crypto Jones asks, are there any strategic partnerships you're interested in establishing with the MetaDAO ecosystem? Just before you guys, we had Solomon Labs on, who recently raised a proposal for $2 million from the MetaDAO treasury to go to USDV, start earning, stable yield on that. Are you guys looking to establish any strategic partnerships within the MetaDAO ecosystem? We know they're very good with collaboration internally.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll tell you, like, at Colosseum, we're already working with 3 companies. Local Pace, they're Then DashX is onboarding with us. Stablecorp is onboarding with us. Then at MetaDAO, I think we would love to work with Avicii. We would love to explore how Solomon is doing the yield thing. I still have to learn that. So yeah, so we have to we would love to, because everything gets you distribution, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. One last question, we'll let you go. Darth Enfield asks, are you required to do AML stuff, transaction monitoring, SAR filings, watch list filtering, custom due diligence, etc., or is that on the customers, or your customers do them?
No, we do it. So basically, 70% of like I said, we are operations first company. So 70% of whatever burn is there is actually going towards, we call it merchant on record management, compliance management. If you see our race page, we have clearly given the breakdown how much actually goes towards all these activities as well. And it's part and parcel of entering new markets, securing the relationship with the local acquirers and banks and so on. We have to make sure that we are super clean and we are onboarding the right kind of businesses to work with us as well.
Absolutely. That covers it from my side. Chill. If you have anything you want to ask, go ahead and shoot.
I think I'm good. I think you guys have done a great job at covering all pieces to the business. We really appreciate you joining us here today, Shri. And I mean, again, congrats on the success. We saw the commits earlier.
Thanks, Chill.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. Shri, thanks so much for coming on. Best of luck. We'll have to get you back on here in a couple months when that revenue and, volumes and profits continue to scale like they're doing right now, and just get an update on directions and where you guys are headed. But this has been a really informative and fascinating conversation. So we do appreciate your time.
Thanks, Enoro. Looking forward to it. Have a good one. Cheers.
Awesome. See you.
Alrighty.
And before you go, let's do one last look at this current raise, because again, it's really incredible. So right now, live,
I've actually opened it only on your screen, just so you know. I have no other tab open on my screen.
Okay, well, here it is. Can you see my screen now then?
Yep.
Okay, so as of 2 hours ago, when it launched, you guys have raised, or there's been nearly $13 million committed to Credible. So that is incredible. 644% of the $2 million minimum has been committed. So you guys are already oversubscribed, which is really impressive.
Thanks.
Congrats on the early success, Shri.
Thanks, Joe.
Exciting stuff. Talk to you soon. Peace.
Cheers.
Dude, that's crazy. Cooking.
That's crazy.
They're cooking on that raise.
I mean, I'll even butt in. I saw the basically half of the about over 50% of the raise was soft committed, pre-committed. I was like, okay, they're going to cook. I saw their numbers. Okay, they're going to cook. Boys, I did not get an entry. I was sitting here on this conversation. I completely missed it. That is unbelievable. I did not expect for them to raise so much in such a short period of time. That's nuts. Yeah, huge congrats. Jeez.
Yeah. Insane.
$3.5 million run rate, 30% month over month growth. It's pretty good stuff, man. And I think here, I mean, I can even tab over to this tab. I think they were only raising at like a $6 million FTV, if I'm correct. It was like, I was pretty shocked how low it was considering their, annual run rate here. But yeah, any thoughts while I kind of look through this to get some more information?
Yeah, no. I mean, I think just general takeaways from the interview. Great business. I mean, this is another example of a business that like they didn't come to crypto and like, let's like make something and launch a token. This was a pretty much an already successful business and we heard about his resume as well. Previously successful founder, has a successful business for a few years, generating revenue already. And now it's just a matter of, introducing the token component to truly align the community with what he's building. So again, another case study for ownership, another successful case study for MetaDAO, in my opinion. And obviously a lot of people think that with, almost 13 mil committed.
Yeah, 13 mil committed, 645% oversubscribed. They were seeking 2 to 4 million, and they've blown through that already. So, wow, great conversation. That will be going out later today, the full episode if you guys missed it, but just wildly successful. So very, very, very cool. Boys, Little change of pace here. Chill's been hammering the drums on it. We've been talking about our Discord's been absolutely popping off with Robinhood. Sonder is like the Robinhood guy. He's been banging the drums on it as well. We're shifting gears. MetaDAO segment done. Amazing. Let's talk Robinhood now. This is the talk of the town. People are excited. Sonder was early making great calls. We're gonna get Thesis's thoughts, all that stuff. I'm gonna pull him up and I'm gonna dip actually because take a leak real quick and I'll be back in a second. Just gotta keep it a buck with y'all. Sonder, whoa,
Keep
you're
it
a
a
legend.
bug,
Hey guys, how's it
Sonder.
going?
Welcome to the
Welcome,
show,
brother.
Appreciate you guys for having me on.
Yeah, man,
dude,
absolutely.
You must be running high right now. Things are looking pretty good, huh?
I was sleeping like 2 hours a night, I think, for a few nights, and like I think I had my phone on, basically just checking it every fucking 30 minutes, maybe. Yeah,
Man, it's a brutal lifestyle, but it's not. It's nice to be back. Let's be honest. We've been
Yeah.
deprived for so long.
100%.
I'm like I said,
So
I'll be back.
so Dom is gonna dip for a second, but I wanna get your thoughts. I want to get your thoughts. Like first, I mean, I know we're like, everyone's talking about Robinhood. Just talk to me about like what are you seeing on chain? Like what are you feeling right now with, I mean, of course it has a lot to do with Robinhood, so you can talk about the ecosystem, but we see there's so many like different opinions right now. I mean, obviously this is a really great ecosystem. It's low key PVE. It's been doing really well over these literally ever since it's been launched. But we see this kind of like tug of war happening on chain where some traders are like fudding Robinhood. Some saying it's just going to be another plasma. It's just going to be another short-lived Tron season or something like that. So tell me how, like, where are you on all of this and why?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different convergences that I'm pretty much looking at right now in terms of where I think if Robinhood had launched maybe 3 months ago when everything was really dead, I think it could have been a very different story. But because there's a lot of different convergences on different things, the first signal to me was just Ansem. I think that really showed that there was appetite in the market that wasn't there before, because Asteroid came and it launched, but then it kind of died, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Ansem, what it did was it really reignited on chain. You could see it just by the numbers in terms of like, the volume. You see it on the new wallets. You see all these different indicators that show that people were really interested in what was going on. And so that was interesting to me. But I didn't hit Ansem early. I hit it a bit late. And obviously when you're a little late, you don't want to get in that big. So I did, make a few multiples on it. It was cool. But it really made me realize that I had to really pay attention to what's going on. And then Robinhood came, and from there I was very locked into that just because of the fact that I didn't hit Ansem as hard as I knew I should have. I mean, there's a lot of signs that it was going to go up just in terms of like him putting his whole weight behind it, how big Ansem was. Also, I think what we saw was Bitcoin went down to I forgot exactly what the number was, but it went down pretty low, and on-chain wasn't actually suffering too much from that. So that made me kind of understand what that kind of signaled to me was also that people just wanted to bid shit on chain even if the majors weren't going to perform.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of this stuff came together in terms of where the asymmetry was in terms of the opportunity, and you could see the timeline was full of people just calling crypto over. And when I see that, and I see the low prices, and I see just everyone just very confident in their assessment, it really makes me take the opposite trade, which is okay. Well, there's going to be opportunities. Like things are not stasis. And then in terms of the FUD of Robinhood, I think it's just it's a new thing, right? Everyone hates a new thing, and I'm sure there is some history of their like in the past with them with. I believe it was GME when they turned off the buy button.
Yep.
So there is a lot of that, but I mean, I'm here to make money. I don't really give a fuck about any of that. Like Base is a corporate chain too, right? So if the chain is permissionless, which it is, it's the L2, right, built on Arbitrum, like they're not gonna block your shit. And if you really don't want to support them, that's on you. But I mean, if you're here as a trader, you got to really take that social justice warrior shit out of here and just make the trade in front of you.
So what's your outlook then? You said you're here to make money. And the truth is there's a lot of like pretty LARPy dog shit tech that's running on Robinhood right now and going from zero to multi-millions. What's like your general trading style right here? Are these long-term holds? Obviously Cash Cat seems like it's going to be the main runner on the chain, but what's your like framework for trading some of these tokens right now?
I actually haven't touched like any new pairs in the last day or two. I think maybe one or two coins, but I've been avoiding new pairs completely. Just because I know you're at the sort of late early stage of the first wave of it.
Yep.
Like I think Robinhood has a lot higher to go, but because of the froth, I wrote about it in my Telegram where I was basically like my original plan. I didn't follow it to a T, but you had this froth because of the friction, right? It's just like I believe the first thing that happened was Cash Cat started going up, people couldn't bridge, and that really gets you when you just see a coin going up and you can't bridge because the bridge is out of funds. And once those funds cleared, people just started bidding that like all the way up. And then you had, the FOMO integration, you had a pump swap integration. So you just had all this friction that was being ripped away layer by layer. And that was where the trade was, right? That was the meat of the move. Everything that's come after, I think, is a little frothy, is a little bit overextended. So I've been just selling. I've been mostly taking profit into Sunday. I think when I originally looked at what was going on, my assessment of it was, okay, we're going to go higher eventually, but you don't get people up 1,000, 10,000% without taking profit. And when Sunday hits, the new week's about to start, there's a sort of hangover where that euphoria kind of starts calming down. The people who are up all night are like, you know what, I'm up so much and I'm just going to take some profits. I'm going to chill. That's where I'm at. So all of these new AI LARP projects I haven't been bidding, and I think it's better to just kind of wait and see what's going on in terms of Cash Cat, or in terms of the ecosystem, because everything in the ecosystem relies on Cash Cat. And that was my original thesis to even start bidding Robinhood, was as soon as I saw it break 10 mil, I was like, okay, shit, something's going on. Because you don't get like higher highs without some sort of signal that new capital is coming. And that's how I'm looking at it.
Got it. So you're just kind of in this wait and watch type of pattern. Crypto Jones has a really good question here. Before I get to my next one, is Robinhood anything more than an Ethereum wrapper? What makes Robinhood different? I also want to get your take on, Ansem's response to Brian Armstrong. I think that also kind of there's some association with this question too. But what makes Robinhood different than everything else?
Yeah, basically it's just a L2, right? It's an Arbitrum L2. There's nothing different. What is different is that they're a platform that is retail first, that is already hugely distributed across 25 or 28 million accounts, right? Traders. So you have this whole ecosystem of people who don't really trade on chain. And one thing that I always try to remind myself of is it's very simple and easy to kind of take the logical connection where you look at the people around you, you look at CT, you look at us in tech, and say, oh, everyone who wanted to be in crypto, who wanted to trade crypto, has already been here. There's no one new. But if you've seen the statistic, I think it was like 88% of people have never used AI, something like that around the world. Maybe I don't know exactly.
I think even more.
Even more. And out of that percent, how many do it for more than like asking it, how do I make this, bake a cookie or some shit, right? So like most people aren't doing shit in AI and have never even touched it. So our bubble is our bubble. And in that sense, there's a lot of people who have not traded crypto, who haven't seen crypto. And honestly, it's not really easy to get in crypto, right? Because there's so many steps. It's getting easier. The friction is getting easier. But when you have 25 million people who've made a shit ton of money on stocks, who see stocks kind of retreating, this is something that Ansem has talked about, but like they're not really, like, most people don't really give a fuck what they're trading. They like a story, they like a vision, they like a narrative. If they can learn the fundamentals, then they do feel a little smarter. They like that as well. But you can't convince me that someone who's made a bunch of money and see some other thing like Cash Cat go up and be like, I don't really fuck with that crypto shit. They're gonna buy it because it's the ease of access is there, right? So in that sense, that's why it's different than Monad. It's why it's different from all these other L2s, different than Tron. It's different than all that, because you just have the same little pool. How many people trade crypto? Like the tiny fraction of the world. Now you're bringing on 20 some odd million, right? And so in that sense, I think that's why it's different. In that sense, they're also seen to be supporting the memes. They understand what's going on. They know that all the volume, all the attention, all the liquidity is coming because of the memes. And you can see that already. So I think there is this opportunity here, not just because Robinhood's here, but because on-chain has bottomed, I believe. On-chain has bottomed.
I want to touch on this. So what's your take? Because this is something we've talked about time and time again on the show, where it's like, for crypto to really, really thrive, we kind of want to see a slowdown of the rest of the broader markets, right? Because we've had the hottest or the hottest stock market maybe in history, right? The S&P continues to make new all-time highs. The Dow makes new all-time highs. Private equity is going absolutely crazy. Commodities, silver and gold and copper have all ripped to oblivion. The only thing that's lagging is crypto. And I feel like in times of the past, when crypto's obviously gotten the most attention, it's when crypto is running absolutely buku and everything else kind of isn't. And we just naturally get those retail traders coming here. We're also seeing this trend where everything's kind of becoming more just the gamification of everything is just coming to life, and it's much more easy for traders to access. I think even with recent legislation, now there's like those day trading laws that recently dropped. So really good for Robinhood. How do you see this happening? Do you think for crypto to run, or do you think as we get a rollover in equities and the S&P 500 and some of these other assets, that rotation kind of flows into crypto as like the main runner?
Yeah, I think there's like there is credibility to that because of the fact that, like I said, people don't really care what they're trading for. They want to buy what's going up, right? Everything is just based on like part of the thesis I have with everything in terms of bridging early, in terms of on-chain sentiment, in terms of macro sentiment, is that it's all just reliant on things that never change, which is human emotion, right? And human emotion, human greed, human fear, whatever, regardless of what market you're trading, if you see number go up, you're going to buy it, right? And if stocks are slowing down, I think that does help because it's just people feel FOMO when they see one thing go up and they're not in. Just like how all the crypto bulls are like, they all sold the bottom of crypto to buy the top of stocks, right? It's the same thing with retail or same thing with any person, right? And in that sense, I think there is credibility to that argument, and I think that because we have already seen sentiment of crypto at such lows, like I haven't seen sentiment of crypto this low in like I don't know how long. And even if, and in that sense, like as a trader, you want to go to where the asymmetry is the highest, which is where sentiment is the lowest, because of like the EV over there is much better than, okay, I'm going to try to get another 2x, 3x on, Micron or some shit.
So one thing I wanted to get your take on. Well, there's two things because. Can you hear me now? What about now? Is it a little better? All right.
Better now.
So there was this, and I'll just pull this tweet up real quick. Let me pull it up here. So there was this whole back and forth that happened. And I want to get your take on this because, basically this guy's, CB Duck, whoever I don't know who he is, but he kind of draws this comparison between.
I am lagging a bit, or I hear you lag a bit.
Are you hearing me okay, Don?
I can hear you okay, Chill. Sander, maybe if you don't mind, you want to pop out and rejoin.
It might be me.
Yeah, it might be on your end.
Real quick. Oh, wait. It's better now. Can you keep talking?
Yeah. Testing 1, 2. Is that good?
I can hear the narrow pretty fine. Let me just reconnect 1 sec.
Yeah. Guess we're having another StreamYard glitch here.
We'll have to ask him what browser it is, because that's what I'm seeing is people that join with like Brave browser or browsers outside of Chrome are the ones that typically have the issues. So I'm wondering if that's kind of what it is. Maybe not though.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see as soon. I want to get his
guys, we'll get tickers going too here. So if you have anything you want to touch on, we will definitely do that.
Bang. Yep, we can hear you now. How about us? Yeah, we're coming through clear for you.
Yeah, that's better now.
Sweet.
Perfect.
What by chance, what browser are you using?
Chrome.
Chrome, okay. Cool.
Got it. Yeah, so I mean, just for context for the audience, I mean, I don't know if everyone here is familiar with this, but basically CB Duck, he talks about the difference between Robinhood and Base, and kind of associating Robinhood with being this meme coin chain, and then Base with being this sort of like place for like sustainable crypto use case. And Brian Armstrong just comes in and basically talks about how it's the part about steering users to something that's positive for crypto, some positive use case, engaging the users and meeting them where they are. And I'm just like, man, is this guy like out of touch? Like,
he's out of touch, bro.
Like first reactions, and I saw you read Ansem's reply to this as well. It's actually something I wanted to talk about on the show. What's your reaction?
I mean, you can see it in the performance of Base, right? Like, I mean, like all you have to do is just look at base over the last little while. They had so many opportunities to capitalize on what people wanted, right? And they just really didn't give a fuck. And the problem is you have some of the biggest spokespeople of base literally like doing this creator shit, which is basically rugging every single person that
Oh,
buys
you
it,
didn't
right?
like Zara?
Yeah, no. And then you had these huge communities that never got any sort of traction because, or I mean, they got traction eventually, but it just took so long. And I think, yeah, they were just really out of touch. And you can see it in the chain. You can see it, and people are like, well, I think RB3K, he's a pretty sharp guy on base, but he was saying the problem with base is they're trying to build for all these corporations and like corporate, you know, interests, and they're trying to build for agents, right? And it's like people are trading. Like the agents aren't trading yet. And so they build this whole ecosystem with the X402. Maybe like if you looked at the dollar value of like how much each trade is, I mean, I do know agents, they're not supposed to be trading a lot just because it's supposed to be going through and, automating a lot of the traditional TradFi rails using crypto, et cetera, et cetera. But like the number of traders or the number of volume that they're actually trading with agents is tiny right now, but they're focusing all the effort on where that's going. And I think as a trader, you're just kind of fucked on base because there's like, why trade on base? You could trade on Solana before, and then now it's why trade on base when you can trade on Robinhood. And I'm not personally against base. I like if there's opportunity there, if they do their airdrop, like if they launch their token and they, line up their incentives with like helping traders do well and build in that space, then yeah, sure, we'll go back on base. But right now they fumbled it, and we'll see if they can get it back.
So here's the thing. I noticed that they characterized Robinhood chain as being a meme coin chain, and I'm seeing a lot of people talk about, oh well, Robinhood is just meme coins. Ever since Vlad came out and gave Degens the green light, essentially. And I read your recent post about like the maturation cycle of on chain. Like at first it's degen liquidity, it attaches to things that are simple, but then it kind of evolves out of after that. We're seeing this play out right now. You started with meme coins, but then you're now seeing utility coins launch. You're now seeing other things starting to come out. So walk me through like your thought process of where Robinhood chain is now in that maturation process and where it's going and how we can potentially position ourselves.
Okay, well, it's been 1 week, right? I believe it's been like 1 week. So
Yeah.
One of the things is if you've been here for multiple cycles, you know how unoriginal every new chain is. Real quick, everything here is some pun on hood or green. Blue was base, red was AVAX, Phantom, you had this like ghosts and all that, right? So you just have this sort of thing where left curve really just wants to buy things without thinking. They want to buy what they like, and right curve knows this because they know they're just gonna follow the liquidity, right? And even BNB chain, like back in the day, everything was food related because during DeFi summer, you had yam, you had sushi, you had all this stuff. So BNB kind of took that. They were doing, like why is Cake Swap a multi-billion-dollar, DEX and protocol? It's because they were competing back then. It was like Cake Swap and Bake Swap, and I could also farm tuna, and I could farm Beefy, which is like a fucking cow, or I can farm Burger King, right? So this is just the way things are. People look for the low-hanging fruit, and then when the volume gets there, people are like, hey, you know what? I should go build there because people are trading there. And then you start building that organic sort of that organic culture, the organic, native protocols, etc. And the thing is, we're like week 1. So if you're complaining about this, you just don't really understand the trade. You don't understand like how these things work, because there's always a sequential nature to this. It hasn't changed in 8 years. So I don't think it's going to change now. And the second thing is with the tech stuff, a lot of that is more execution based. Like the teams have to be really good. So I think the problem with the AI LARP stuff that's happening right now is that you can tell that it's not real products because these are teams that said, fuck the roadmap. We need to launch on Robinhood so we can capture liquidity. So they're just putting whatever out they can out there, right? Because established teams, they're not going to change the roadmap. Be like, oh, Robinhood's launched. Let's just drop everything and launch it now if it's not ready, if the product's not ready. So that's why you're seeing all the LARP stuff, because like the real teams, unless they've been like planning for Robinhood for a long time, you can see that with Arrow. Vex looks pretty good. I haven't looked so deeply into it, but those are you can tell those are platforms that put in the legwork before Robinhood had launched, and everything that launched, the past few days are just grifters, basically. All the bundlers, all the scammers, they're already here. So that's why I think the new pair stuff is cooked right now. It doesn't mean there's no opportunity, but it means, hey, anyone who has been here 5 days longer than you are currently up thousands of percent. Like, there are groups that got into the Cash Cat and bought 5% plus of supply for $500. You can look at the top traders on
Crazy.
Cash Cat, right? These people are up so much. And so that's why I say fuck the new pairs. Like, all the people want to come here and try to get that, right? So in that sense, what I'm looking at is these are local tops in my belief, because I do believe Robinhood goes up based on what I said about the tailwinds of these large retail traders that are trading stocks that will eventually, hopefully, come. Now, if you look at Toshi, you look at other fractals from Base, which is what I think is the closest comparison. Like, Toshi ran to 950 million, but it didn't do that in like 1 week. It did that in almost 2 years. I think it's 18 months or something. So people were really happy selling Toshi at 30 mil, at 50 mil, at 80 mil, 120 mil. And that's fine. That's a great trade. But my position now is I'm looking at the categories in terms of what are the top categories. And then each category is just a slot for, that mascot meme, a slot for the leading DeFi protocol, the leading AI agent protocol or infra layer, the leading cat and dog. Like, these slots have never changed. In every chain, there's a slot, and you can see the market cap comparison on that is in the billions. So if you get Cash Cat at, maybe it goes down 50% from here. What is it now? 140? Maybe it goes to 50 mil. I don't know. Maybe you get at 50 mil and you sell it for 1 billion, right? Like, unless you think Robinhood chain is completely cooked and it never comes back, then Cash Cat is probably a pretty good bet, just because they've been listed on Hyperliquid, they've been listed on Lighter. You can tell big money is incentivized to keep it going up. Like, I don't know where the bottom is, but I do know I'm going to be accumulating the shit and just holding it for a year, because, well, that's the trade already, right? Now, if you want to go down the risk curve to fucking whatever, like slot bundle farm shit is happening, most likely you're going to lose all your money. So look for the categories and just make some positions. Obviously, you don't know who's going to win, but for the most part, the top coins with real teams that are putting in the work, executing, they're pretty likely going to win. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. I'm not trying to like bid on the 10th or 15th iteration of a cat coin. I'm just going to buy Cash Cat.
Bidding the leaders.
So quick question for you on this, because I like memes. I trade memes. They're great, awesome. But like, I really thrive and I have developed my edge when it comes to utility. And so I'm starting to see like, utility coins starting to get some shine on Robinhood. I'm sure you heard of Noxa, and I want to get your take on that as well. I want to get your take on, whether them shutting down right now or like pausing launches right now is a good thing for them as well. But before that, like, just continuing on talking about the life cycle, we're late early, and we're now filling out the slots, the dog coins, the cat coins, the top launch pad, the top decks, what have you. But now we're kind of getting into this stage where we're starting to see real builders launch. A lot of them were LARPs, right? But I don't know if you've seen like the virtuals launches. Are you paying attention at all to their ecosystem on Robinhood?
Yeah, I think every protocol, every platform wants to launch on Robinhood, because like I said, like the number one thing that I try to think of when I'm looking at these chains is that you have to get people interested first. Everything's about attention. Everything is about the volume. And once you have that, which is broad, almost always about meme coins, then you have virtuals, you have Banker, you have all of these real protocols that are building real stuff coming on board, because they just understand that if you build where people are, you're going to perform well. And I think I haven't looked at the specific virtuals launches, just because, as I said, I haven't been looking at any new pairs. I haven't been looking at anything that's really launched in the last couple of days. I've just been I've been chilling. Like, I think as a trader, the biggest thing is when you're on a hot streak, you really have to kind of understand when to kind of start pressing on the brakes, because otherwise you just round trip everything. So I have a bad tendency, and I've made this mistake so many times, where I just keep on rolling the hot ball of money, and then eventually you get zeroed out. So yeah, I'm just chilling out right now. I'm tweeting a lot. I'm like helping out with this video thing, because I think that's interesting, because I got an honorary from the dev, and I messaged him afterwards, and I was like, hey, what's up with this? Like, what is your plan? And he just seemed really big brain. He's like, oh, I'm doing all this stuff with like V4 bands and LP. It has like huge LP. I want people to size in because if you actually look on the top liquidity on Dex Screener, I believe it's like top 10, and I believe it's like 600K market cap or some shit. I don't know, 800 maybe, but it has one of the largest liquidity pools, and that's interesting to me. Like I want to look at the categories where there's not that many slots, right? Like if you try to go for the 10th or 20th cat coin, there's so much competition. But if you want to go for like the top AI protocol, I don't know if it's live yet, but it'll probably be launched by Virtuals or Banker, right? And in that sense, you want to find the things that like are novel, that are sort of unique, and they have some sort of maybe a moat, not even a moat, but they're just there from day one, and there's not a lot of competition. And if they can execute well, then realistically, a lot of these market caps would be a lot higher.
Got you. Yeah, I was looking at Hoodio earlier. I mean, the MCG crew, wouldn't we wouldn't mind getting hooked up with a few custom PFPs if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'll tell the dev.
But yeah, if you're already talking to him, just tell him the MCG boys want to get him on. And two, like it is X402, so I mean X404. So I know that's kind of like what Pandora did back in the day, and Pandora ran, and so that's kind of what I associate it with, and I'm interested in kind of hearing what he said, but hearing what he talks about. But outside of that, the PFP looks cool. The branding is really solid. So that's awesome.
Can I get the TLDR? What's the lore on Hoodio?
Well, it's basically like a Remilia or My Lady fork or play, right? In terms of the culture. And I think Ladies, which is the My Lady token, it went to 300 million. I think you have that here. And Retardio 240. And you have Hyper and Hippios on Hyperliquid. And you had Soul Lads, or was it Mad Lads on Solana, right? And so there is going to be some representation of the culture. And I think the culture is not there yet. Like we don't have a real Robinhood culture. It's week 1, right? So you don't have that now. But if you believe that every single slot eventually gets filled, then you just look for whatever could take that slot. And in terms of seeing people rock the PFP, in terms of the tech, which is the DN404, which is, I believe, basically it's one asset, right? So you have the tokens and you have the NFT. So you get 1 million tokens, you get an NFT. If you sell some of those tokens, your NFT is burned. And so that provides instant liquidity, which was one of the biggest problems of traditional NFTs. If you had an NFT, you couldn't sell it, then you couldn't, you're just stuck with that NFT, right? And then in that sense, plus the liquidity, I think it has a good chance of, filling the slot. All comes to like the thing that's different between memes and between, fundamentals, like you're saying, Chill, is that a lot of it comes down to execution after. Like the memes are easy because if people either like the meme or they don't like the meme, right? And the team can make some cool content. Like Hoodrat has insane content. Like I don't know what they must be like Cabal. Like the reason I bid it just the price action looked like a Cabal. I've seen Brett. I faded Brett, and I just try not to be so emotionally or what do you call it? Like I try not to take a value judgment on things if I'm buying coins. Obviously, I won't buy like really retarded stuff, but in terms of like, if it's a Cabal, like okay, well, if they're rich, I want to buy the Cabal stuff. I'm not gonna avoid it because it's because it's Cabal.
You've seen this movie before.
I've seen it. I was there day one when Brett launched. Like the Brett, like the OG Brett. There was an OG Brett, and it hit like 2 or 3 mil. I bought a bunch of it. And I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. Like blue character on the blue chain, whatever. And then the Cabal one came and it went straight to like 2 or 3 mil. And I was like, fuck this Cabal shit, supply controlled. Dude, that shit went to 2 billion. And I had like 1% of the OG one. So, I mean, obviously I wouldn't have held it till 2 billion. But in that sense, you just have to really understand that, like, if you're a trader, you're here to trade. And all that other stuff, like, last thing I'll say about this is, like, it's very similar to martial arts, right? When you get punched in the face, you get punched in the face. Reality hits you in the face. When you're a trader, doesn't matter how good of a community member you are, or how like all the other stuff. What matters is your P&L at the end of the day, right? You can say, oh, I didn't buy that because this or that. Like you're a trader, so you if you see opportunity and you see asymmetry, go to that chain, go buy that thing. Like just make the trade. Like everything else comes after.
Yep, 100%. You mentioned earlier, you were talking about how, all the slots will be filled. And I think this new slot that we've seen now is the launchpad slot, right?
Mhm.
Like with Pump Fund, that, obviously they've cemented their place in on Solana. But as new chains come out, I guess you can say that that is also kind of an open sector that people can compete in. I'm seeing Noxa, the launch pad that pretty much most of the tokens have been launched on. What's your view on Noxa? Are you bullish? Do you think they'll? Because I see like Pump Fund is also starting to support, providing support for Robinhood. Do you think they stay competitive? They're like paused their launches. Like, is that affecting your thesis? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I didn't look into Noxa too much. I did see people bridging over to like DBank chain or something for it. As I said, I kind of started. I was more in the post euphoria, like selling things phase of my Robinhood journey, where I was not going to bridge to another new chain just because. But I do think more competition is good, especially against types like Pump Fund, where they have obviously not followed through on the community for the longest time. So if Noxa can do the right things, which is prevent or reduce bad actors, I think that's good. I think they do have an opportunity here for sure. Uh, Beyond that, I don't really know too much. I do like I looked at Noxa on the first day. Actually, I fucked up because I have two kids, so I've been trying to balance that, and actually heard about Robinhood Chain before the launch. So the only way to get onto Robinhood Chain was OTC, like the weeks before, and I looked at Noxa because that was where all the tokens were launching, and I saw Cash Cat at 350K market cap or something. I was like, oh, this looks kind of interesting. That was the highest market cap at the time. But then the OTC had no Ethereum, so I went
Yeah.
on the OTC bridge, and then I'm like, okay, how do I get on here? And then I was like, I made a mental note. I'll check this out later. Later happened. Next thing I know, Cash Cat was 10 mil, and I was like, ah, fuck. But I think all that to say, Nox. I think if you have more launch pads, especially if this can start, capturing that market share, if they're aligned with, from what I can tell, they seem to be aligned with, longer hold time, changing the culture. I think that's a good thing. I think it could definitely go up a lot just if you make the comparison to other launch pads. I think most people are pretty sick and tired of pump, so wish them all the luck. I haven't bought yet, but if after this call, I might go check it out just in case.
Well, I'll tell you this. Funny story actually. So I bridged to Robinhood June 18th. I got Cash Cat under, I think it was like an 85K or 90K market cap.
Oh
Gave the
man.
full thesis on stream. That was my first call in the Discord that we created. Like, I think I think the Discord was just created a few days
Yeah.
at that point.
Nutty call.
But it's like it was crazy. And honestly, like we've been just on a freaking heater in the Discord ever since then. But yeah, like some of the guys on in the Discord, they also bridged with me. Some had to wait, some had to use that OTC bridge that came up because the bridge it was crazy, bro. The bridge that I used, like, does not like it doesn't even exist anymore. It's called Hood Bridge. I just bridged and I tried to go back and bridge more and it didn't work. It was like malicious
That's
site.
the thing that people don't understand, and this is why like I think the problem with a lot of the new gen is they don't understand how crypto used to be. That what Chill just said used to be standard. You used to throw your
Yep.
money over the bridge and you just hoped it got there. You had no clue. You didn't know what the fuck was going on. You just threw your money. You're like, all right, I'm probably never seeing this again. And that was the first step. The second step was, okay, which DEX am I using? Am I gonna lose all my money because I connected to the wrong
Yep.
DEX? And so, the game is just so much more. There's so much less friction, and I think it's just very important though for you, like in terms of as a trader, you should always bridge. 95% of the time, nothing happens. Maybe you lose, maybe something like you don't. That's why you don't bridge a lot. I didn't actually bridge a lot to Robinhood. Like I just bridged 10K. That's all I put in, and it's up. Like I don't know. I don't like sharing P&L stuff, but it's up, right? So, but you don't need to put a lot of money. You just put in, like if you don't have a big portfolio, put in $500, put in $100, whatever. Just be in the just have the muscle memory to bridge and try new shit. one of my biggest trades in 2021, I think, was Mooncats. I don't know if you guys remember Mooncats.
No,
What
no, I
chain was
don't
that
think
on?
so.
Ethereum. And so it was one of
No.
the first NFTs. I think back in the day, it had died for like years, and then they came back because people started minting it. And what you had to do was you connected to the site, and you click mint. It was free. You had to pay for the gas. I think it was like maybe $200 per mint because of the gas. And then it would have this animation of you like saving a cat from the moon, and you would get this moon cat. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? And then the sharp I knew was like buying all the moon cats you could. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna get as many as I could. But the animation took like minutes. So each cat took 5 minutes or something to get. I did like 30 cats or more. And I was just sitting there for like maybe 6 hours buying these fucking cats, right? The whole time I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Am I wasting my time? There was no marketplace for it. There was no nothing for it. It was just this fucking cat. But I don't know. It just had this because it's OG and it had this all these like signals around it. I don't exactly remember what signals it were. It was just one of the, I think it was basically one of the first NFTs. So that there's this legacy to it, right? Anyways, they started selling for like 4 or 5 Ethereum, like 5 to 10, like the rares are 20 Ethereum, and Ethereum was like 3K each, right? So 6-figure cook on this one. My other buddy who did all those cats, he made 7 figures on it. And so it's like you have to do things that feel like they're a waste of time because you have to just get through that friction. Because what happened after, obviously, people like this Mooncats. They created a liquidity bridge. They put on OpenSea. They ported it. They forked it. Whatever. You can now sell it easily on OpenSea. Bam! Everyone's buying it. Mark Cuban bought it. If you actually find, there's a tweet. Mark Cuban talked about how he bought Mooncats. He bought my fucking 100x, right? So, like, you have to do this shit early because the earlier you are, the less capital you need to make those big plays. Cash Cat, $500 could have been a millionaire. Even if the worst case scenario, you just held $500 and you started selling responsibly like anyone would, 50K, maybe 100K. It's like you don't need to bridge a lot of money, but you need to do this shit because every other game right now is solved. Everyone knows what this new shitter is going to do. And that's why Robinhood chain and that's why this Ansem Bull stuff is interesting because just a little bit of the game changed and then people didn't really know how to price it. And so now you have that asymmetric opportunity where you can now do something just a little earlier, just a little bit. Like,
isn't it crazy how this just continues to work? It's like always bridge, and this has been a timeless thing that works over and over and over and over again without fail.
Yeah,
because people are just lazy. Moral of the story is people are just so lazy and they'll chase.
And that's the argument for why I think this friction and why Robinhood's interesting because people are lazy. You think everyone would just, oh, I see Cash Cat, I have Robinhood app, I'm just gonna learn how to use it. No, they're not gonna fucking do that. They're gonna look at it and be like, that's cool. Nah. Or, that's cool. Like me, I gotta go watch my kids. I gotta go, I'm gonna go watch fucking Lakers game or whatever, right? So you have all this shit that you have to do. Last thing I'll say about this, like, you don't really understand how much 1 second can make adds a difference between you being in a 10x or like you being break even or underwater. Like back in the day with the DeFi farms, during DeFi summer, if you were in the pool on these farms, like they were like 1 million APR per second or some shit. If you were the first 10 people or 50 people, you're up 50x. Like literally, you can put $1,000, you're up 50K to 100K, and you're printing, so it's a farm, right? So you're now making like 25K every fucking minute. Like I'm not even lying. I made my entire year salary in 2021 before I started work. Like I logged on for work, I was making $25 an hour. My call was at 9 a.m. At 6 a.m. I was farming this shit, and I had already made my entire year salary before my call, right? And so, but the thing is, if you're not the first 10 or 20 or 30, you're number 50. You're already underwater. Yeah, you're already exit. So like, and those rotations have only happened quicker, but you have to take your chance. Like you have to take the chance because otherwise you're just playing the same game as everyone else, and everyone knows what the game is. Everyone already knows, what's happening. So I think as soon as you see something like this, the worst thing you can do is say, it's another L2. Yeah, it could be another L2. And if you're wrong, then then the guy who decided to go bridge is now up 1,000x on his fucking $500. So just go do this shit.
And you're stuck sideline cursing Robinhood, saying it's the worst thing ever. There's fragmentation. We don't need another L2. I hate Robinhood.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, and then another thing is, as a trader, you have to understand, like the cope that you feel, you should turn that cope into action because the more you cope, the longer it takes. Eventually, most people who cope, they'll buy at a certain price. Like I'm ton of people I knew who had saw the Ansem from the bottom. Like my price was 80 million. I was like, fuck, if it's 80 million, it could probably break through 100, because once it gets to 100, 100 never is like 100 million is never the top in terms of market cap. 100 million is like where everyone sells and like, I made 100 million. And then the next leg is usually it goes to 150. Like you got to take those numbers as psychological barriers, but in terms of something that has that much volume, you're going to go right over it. So anyways, all I'm saying is the cope is really strong in a lot of people, and it wasn't me too. And you have to train it out of you, because you have to be able to buy things higher. You have to be able to get filled on entries that you don't really like, you're not comfortable with, because those opportunities that come, especially the one runner that happens every 3 months or 2 months, like Penguin, Ansem, what was it? What was that fucking Molt book? Like a lot of people had to buy higher, and they were they made a really great trade out of it. And so you just have to be able to train yourself in many ways. Like being a trader is about training your emotions in different ways. And I think the best way to do this is like really write it down, right? Like, why do I feel this way? And then what do I do next? Because as soon as I feel that like pit in my stomach when I see the prices go down, I'm just bidding the shit out of it. Like whatever it is, I know that candle of death is a huge opportunity. You don't feel good bidding it. You always sweat. Your hands are sweating. You're like, oh shit, like I don't know, it's gonna go to zero maybe. But like you have to pull through and execute on those moments, because that's where like the huge EV is. And obviously don't fucking zero yourself out, but you have to be able to do that stuff. So you have to be able to bridge, you have to be able to stop coping and just buy the thing, and you have like a plan with it, right? And I can yap about this all day, but a lot of it is all you, right? And the people who really don't understand this, they'll never make it, because it's always someone else that they can blame. And then what happens is they'll go through their entire trading career blaming other people, right? And so they take zero lessons from every loss. They just keep losing money. Whereas if you are really internally focused, then you know that everything that you fuck up on is your fault. And so all you are is super critical on yourself and super introspective on what you're doing wrong and how to, take steps to fix it in the future.
Agreed. It's really you versus you when you're trading. You versus your own doubts, your own insecurities, your own fears, either fear of missing out or fear of failure. So no, I appreciate that. That was that's a clip actually. So you'll probably see something like this go out a little bit later.
Well, it's all in risk to reward too, right? Like, I mean, Cash Cat sure could go to zero, but it fits the prototype. New chain, largest retail consumer finance app in the world. It's got some deep lore to it. Like, this is the prototype that's led to the breakout, 1 billion market cap runners in a terrible market. And it's just like, like Saunders said, sure, it could go to zero, but you have to bridge, you have to take the risk. And if it goes to zero, it goes to zero. And it's a numbers game ultimately. But if it fits the prototype and checks the boxes, you could have that position where $500 turns into a 6-7-figure position because you found the $1 billion runner, because it matches the prototype that you need to see these things succeed. So
okay, I 100% agree, because the thing people forget, I don't know if people forget, but just like you said, it could go to zero, right? We're trading crypto, guys. We're trading crypto. Like we're trading the most extreme tail end of the risk curve. It could go to zero. Well, every new pair you buy could go to zero, and most of them go to zero. Like if you're uncomfortable with loss, then you're never gonna be able to make it, right? And man, I've been to zero so many times that yeah, it still hurts, but I just well, on to the next one, right? And if you can't get through that, especially in crypto,
you're doomed.
Yeah, you're dead. You're not gonna make it anywhere, because
give up.
It's there's if you don't want to trade crypto, or if you think it's too high risk, then go do a job. And I think a lot of people would benefit from not trading crypto, because being in crypto for a long time really fucks up your mentality. Like you get pretty fucked up in terms of the level of stress and risk you have to take.
What
If you lose.
how would you say crypto has affected you over the years?
I don't have a baseline. I've always been like this person, like in terms of you can see my tweets. I can probably tweet and talk and whatever for hours, and I just have this, like, I don't know. When I'm into something, when I'm locked in, and when I'm not, I'm like down. I don't really have a normal sort of baseline, and I think that's a huge problem as well in terms of being a trader, because their highs are highs and your lows are lows. I like Y22. I was talking to him. He's a great trader, and he's just like I really respect the traders who can just very methodically, take profit here, take profit there, just their equity curve is just this straight right up, and they like take no losses. Dude, mine's like a roller coaster, up and down, up and down. And I've tried to change over the years. I've done a little bit of improvement, but in life and everything, I'm just that type of person, just very volatile. So yeah, you kind of have to
Got
you
you.
find people who are like similar to you in terms of personality and temperament, because you can't, like, if you're not that type of person, it's going to be really hard to replicate. And my guardrails in terms of like not zeroing out is just cashing the fuck out. Like if I can't trade it, then then that's how I save myself. So I'm spending the money. I'm like putting it out, whatever. Because as if I say I had a bunch of stables USDC in my wallet, fuck, it's there for like a day or two, or maybe a week if I'm lucky, and I'll see this new thing. Oh shit, like it's time to start gambling again, right? So like it has to be in my bank. It has to be in something. It can't be in my wallet. There's just no way.
One of my biggest lessons, and it's so funny you say this, is back in the NFT days, man, 2020, I ran up. Firstly, I took profit on I traded the cycle perfectly, right? I was following the 4-year cycle, the stock to flow of Bitcoin, took profit at the Pico top. Where I went wrong, and I didn't go wrong because I ended up making a lot of multiples on it, but I rotated all my money at the Pico top into NFTs because it was a new thing, similar to you. And I was up all this money, and I was like, man, I could keep gambling, keep betting on these things, make some more money, or I could buy the Corvette I wanted. And I'm so pissed today that I didn't just take the money out and buy a Corvette, because as we all know how the story goes, I round tripped so much money. So much money. I mean, it makes you sick when you think about it. And like, looking back, I'm like, man, I wish I would have bought the Corvette. Like, it's corny, but it's true.
Like,
I've
I don't
never
know.
regretted any purchase I made.
You said what? You don't regret it?
I've never regretted any purchase I've made. Like experience thing, whatever. Like in terms of having it in crypto or having it outside of crypto, I'd rather have it outside of crypto. And one thing is, after being here for 8 years, something that I always try to remember is, you guys know Black Monday? It's like October or something, like, not, I don't know if it's Black Monday. It's the 1929 was what it was.
Everything just
If you read about the stories of these traders, the thing about being a trader is that if you are, in terms of in terms of personality and in terms of the way that you are as a trader, I would assume most traders in crypto are pretty risk, like they're not risk averse. They like taking risks, right? And if you read the stories about the guys who are these famous stock traders back in the day, 1929, a lot of them were career traders. They traded for 30 years, 20 years, 40 years, whatever, wiped out one day. So it's not even about like making it this cycle. It's making it the next cycle and the next cycle and the next cycle. Because if you're trading, you're probably going to stay trading, right? And if you continue to take risks and you don't have a way to like fight your inner demons, you could do well for 5 cycles. There's this guy, I think his name was, I don't know exactly his name was, but he's like an OG from 2013. I think he lost it all on 10-10, right? So you've been trading for 10, 13 years, and then you lose it all 13 years later. So the game never ends. And that's why you always have to be sharp, because if you don't control that, like if you don't take loss and then you're just always up, even if that's not, that's pretty rare. But the thing is, if you don't take loss, then you don't learn those lessons. Someday that addictive personality or those habits that you build, those bad habits, are going to come catching up with you. So you really need to have these guardrails, and you have to know yourself, because it's very easy to be like, oh, I'm just going to do that and that. Like, how many times have you actually executed on what you said you were going to do? And then then you can work from there, right?
Yeah. No, it's funny that you like, we're all talking about our first cycle story, because I just completed my first cycle, right? In crypto. I came in at the Pico top of 2021, right when freaking Dom bought NFTs. And I rode that, and now that we just experienced the top in October. So like that was like my first full cycle. And I would definitely say that because I've made a pretty decent loot in crypto, and I got a chance to offboard a lot of it. But man, I wish I offboarded more, bro. Like there was so much more I could have done. Like IRL. And like I like you, Sandra, like I never regret like, you know, like staying in the trade, like staying in the market or anything like that. Like what I do regret is not buying that experience. Like, you know, like I don't know about, you know, how your family set up and everything, but like, you know, I'm not close to like I'm not in the same area as a lot of my family. So I'm like, man, I should have took that. I should have bought that extra trip. I should have stayed another week. I should have, you know, so that does kind of gnaw at me in the back of my mind. But
but
yeah,
time next time around, right? And there is no better feeling than like making a bag and then go on vacation. You're just sitting there. I was in the Adriatic Sea in Croatia by where was I? It was the Split or one of the Hvar. I was in Hvar. I was looking at the Adriatic Sea. I just completely cashed out. This is 2021. Yeah, I cashed out most of it, and I was just like, no, this is 2022 because I lost a bunch in the middle of the summer, but then I made a lot of it back on AVAX season, and that I did AVAX, bro. The craziest thing is things never change because the same playbook I ran for Robinhood, I did the same for AVAX, I did the same for Phantom, I did the same for BNB for base chain. I like that's how those are always the ways that my asymmetric trades. That's like where I make a lot of like the most of my P&L. And I was just sitting there after AVAX season, and I was just having a beer and looking at the Adriatic Sea. I'm like listening to some like chill house tunes. Like, yo, this is it. So you got to take that vacation, man. You got to pull that shit out, have a nice fucking vacation, and like even like the first time I bought a watch, right? It was just like everything before that was all digital. Like, you know, you are so desensitized to this money that you see. It's not even real money. It's just some fucking number on the screen. But once you pull that shit out and you like have something that look at and be like, oh shit, like people rag on whatever buying all that shit. And I think you shouldn't buy it until you have obviously everything else taken care of. But once you do see how real it is, then you really kind of take another, you do start to respect money more.
We're so out of touch.
Bro, we're so out of touch. So it's crazy that you mentioned the Adriatic Sea. Like real quick, this doesn't have anything to do with like trading, but like last year I took a vacation with my family and we went to Croatia was one of the places that we went to. Dude, I freaking lost my ring, my wedding ring in the freaking Adriatic Sea, bro.
No way.
I jumped 50 feet off. I jumped 50 feet. I mean, look, it was fun. It was great. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, and thankfully, my wife, she's such a great person. She's love her so much. But I jumped off a 50-foot platform into the sea, and like my ring just flew off my finger, bro. And I was like, crap. But it was a ball of a time, man.
I remember that trip, the first trip I took, and I thought I was such a like I did pretty well, so I was like, oh yeah, I went to Monaco too, and I was like in Croatia, and I was like, damn, look at all these fucking like it made me see the world so much bigger, but also it just kind of it really inspired me just to be like, you know what, because I grew up with like no money, right? So I basically was just like I was reselling tickets, I was reselling clothes,
hustling.
I was reselling everything. Like that's the only way I could buy anything nice because I was didn't have money to buy shit, so I would like resell something and then I would make $5-10 profit, and I was like, oh shit. And that's kind of how I got into everything, right? So like just being there, and I was just like looking at these kids on these iPads on these mega yachts. I'm like, man, you guys don't know how good you have it.
They really don't, man. They really don't. I mean, I'm just, I saw this post the other day and it was talking about like just perpetual optimism. The way I look at it is it's you versus the market. And hey, look, it's like playing ball. If you get scored on, you don't just give up. You just say, all right, ball up top, like let's run it back. So that's the kind of mentality that I have. And man, I'm not near port all-time highs, but I'm looking forward to port all-time highs.
I am not near port all-time highs. I lost a lot, like in terms of like I took out a lot. But I also in pure P&L, I don't want to say how much I lost, but it was enough where I remember looking at my runway. I'm like, really that many years?
Yeah, crazy. It's funny. I have a story that's like the contrast to your story, what not to do. I was in Cabo, Mexico. This was back during like the Ethereum run, chill. So you might remember there was this like privacy wallet app that I invested in, and I invested the day before I left to Cabo. And I leave to Cabo. I have no access. I think I had my laptop with me, but I'm out all day, all inclusive drinking, whatever. And I look at like my phone and I'm like, oh wow, like we're up a ton. Like, let's go. I just paid for the Cabo trip. And so I started splashing, started having a good time in Cabo, Clausesville, doing the whole 9 when you're in Mexico.
Yeah.
And by the time I got home, they had frozen the contract. Rain the liquidity and rug me.
Yeah,
I
that's
could not
crazy.
sell a dime, dude. And I was sitting
Oh
here
my
living
gosh.
high. So I guess the moral of the story is also like when you're up that much, don't start spending like you got it till it's locked in your bank account.
Oh
That's for
man,
sure.
yeah,
Man,
don't make that mistake. The lifestyle creep. I know so many people. Actually, I almost like I kind of was feeling tight too in like previous cycles and even like earlier when I was losing last year, just because like you get used to a new level of like, especially if you're not careful, like just of how much you spend in terms of in crypto and how much you're bidding things, especially when you have bull markets for so long, and then how much you are spending in real life. Like that shit, like Floyd Mayweather was broke now. Like you got to think about that, right? There's people who, like, if you make a ton of money, you save none of it, then eventually you're gonna be stuck because there are so many horror stories, guys who just, they like, it's a very easy trap to fall into.
Look, we got Odell Beckham talking about how $100 million contract is like it's not enough to live.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's time and time again you see this trap, especially with athletes who come up on it. They don't know how to, steward it well, and it's next thing you know, it's gone and they're homeless. Who's the one basketball player that made a bunch of money? Now there are all these videos of him online, like literally begging on the side of the street. It's pretty
That's crazy.
brutal.
oh, Delonte West, bro.
Yeah.
He's like an addict and homeless, and he was playing next to LeBron James in the
That's
finals.
crazy.
Yeah, but Saunders, man, I mean, it's pretty much like coming up on like 50 minutes or so of the interview. It's been like always a good time to have you. Always a good time to have you on stream. But we definitely want to respect your time. But yeah, I mean, if there's anything else, bro, like it's always just good chopping it up. Anything else you want to mention to, we got 4,000 people here plus 4.2K, almost 4.3. So whatever you'd like to say.
Yeah, I just think as a trader, you have to really look at the long-term vision, like the long-term window. Your trades should take longer. You should look at what you want, like what the vision is on the price ceiling, because everything's, topping out. Everything was topping out at what, 1 mil, 5 mil, 500K like 2 months ago. But now look at the ceilings, right? So you have to trade in a way that you are, one, not going to die, as in you're not going to lose all your money. And two, when you have something that is interesting and novel, or that you can see this vision of what it could be, you have to hold longer. And that doesn't mean don't take profit. It doesn't mean fucking hold everything to zero. It means take profit at a 2x, 3x, whatever, but have that thesis for your trade to play out over time. And if you can do that, like the guys, so many people are so happy selling Toshi at 30 mil or 20 mil or 10 mil even. That shit ran to 950 mil, but it takes time for these things to play out. And the difference between a lot of these other coins and something like Robinhood, which is a new chain, is that slot hasn't been filled yet. And if you look at every single time in history of a new chain, these market caps eventually go to a much higher valuation. If this was a bull market and Bitcoin was 120K and Robinhood had just launched, I would not be saying that. But Bitcoin is at what, 60 something K, and sentiment has been in the gutter for the last 6 months to a year. So yeah, it's time to like start thinking about where you think the market's going to be, end of the year, next year, then make your trades based off that. It's especially important if you have smaller capital, because when you don't have a lot of money, it's so easy to just zero yourself out. And then you see the runner come or whatever, the opportunity come, and you don't have money to fucking bid on it, even though it's such a good opportunity. That is the worst feeling. And I've felt that so many times, just because I bought this stupid shitter, the 10th iteration of some stupid cat or some whatever, and now I have no money because I fucking gambled it all away. So you have to be in the game. And even if you aren't making those 10x's, whatever, you have to be in the game, because like last thing is like because I can yap forever, but last thing is, like, you see, like the best stories are like these guys who've been trading for so long. They're like, you see them on chain, whatever, and they're making like $100 profit, $50 profit. Then they hit that one thing and it fucking takes them to 6 figures, right? And that's just because they were always in the game. They didn't zero themselves out. They were taking profit like smartly, right? And if you can do that, you can be in the game for however long you want to be in the game, then your chances of success just go so much higher. And yeah, the delusional optimism is a huge factor. Now you have to avoid all that mid curving, all that doom pilling shit, because you lose the game before you even start if you do that.
Absolutely.
100%.
Capital preservation 100%. And good sizing is so important. Also, it's like sometimes no trade is the better trade, right? Mm-hmm. So
I wouldn't say this is the time though. This is not the time for no trade.
I would
100%.
agree. I would agree.
100%.
It's been a long time for me recently in the last year or two. I'd say year where I've been trading and all profit has been going to USDC. I'm 100% all profit is going into Solana or parking at least in like some of the leaders I think could be.
Bro, I'm
could
holding
be running.
Ethereum for the first time in I don't know how long.
Okay. Okay, I gotta ask before you go. Are you positioning in anything? Okay, so Robinhood's running. There are a few things that benefit from this, right? Arbitrum receives 10% of those fees. Uniswap, of course, recorded like 5.5 million the other day. They're doing really, really well. Syrup, I think, is a direct beneficiary. Virtuals. Is there anything that's benefiting from the Robinhood tech stack that you are like bidding or watching?
I'm not, because I think for me, Robinhood is this thing where I don't like, I haven't looked at the second, third order effects yet in terms of the majors, just because of how much I guess I've made from Robinhood. I'm kind of just like trying to like not put money back into that ecosystem or even just look at it too much. I am bidding Ansem. I think that is going to be like, I believe, because like look at the price action right now. I think that is going to be an easy bid. Anything around here, anything from here, and you're aiming for
Agreed.
3 or 4x.
Agreed.
And I did say something about the rotation game where you should be happy when people rotate to Robinhood, and then when you rotate back to or then go back to Solana, you should be happy, because what you're basically like, if you believe things are going to go up, then you would assume that the baseline thesis is that there's going to be cycles, and there's going to be hot periods for Solana, there's going to be hot periods for Robinhood, and maybe there might be hot periods for base. But what you should do is sell into the froth, and then start adding to the things that are left behind. Not huge size, obviously, but just having that position start building, because you don't want to be the guy who like just changes or chases each chain every time it goes up and down. And because that's how you sell the top, sell the bottom, and buy the tops, right? So I am positioning myself in Ansem. I think that will be good in terms of the Solana ecosystem if it does go up or when it goes up. And then you start looking at, I think, the tech stuff, because I don't exactly have my selections on the tech stuff, but the fundamental like AI inference stuff on Solana I think will be good, because one, Ansem wants Solana to go up, and two, he's smart enough to not show any other memes, because he knows that that's going to be a liquidity black hole. Whereas if he does show something that is non-meme, I think it wouldn't really affect it. He's gonna want to direct those airdrops to protocols that he likes. He's gonna want to continue like supporting builders on the ecosystem. So I think Ansem, and then something that's not a meme on Solana.
Well, I don't think I agree with you. I'm right there with you with Ansem. I think we've talked about his thesis around. We talked about what we think he'll do around this token, which aligns with everything that you just mentioned. I think he can really affect change. He has enough motion. He has enough. He's smart enough to know what to do, what not to do. But he also put something out recently in regards to the Ansem token. We just saw Clued pop up, because Clued's up 50% on the day. But here's what Ansem said just a few minutes ago. He said, "We'll support projects in the ecosystem building cool things around Ansem. I'm not sure how to formalize this yet, but we'll figure it out. The Squire dev recommended doing some kind of hackathon with Solana, may be a good idea." And he quote tweeted Seb's, basically Seb created an Ansem AI agent that will respond like Ansem, and you can tag it and stuff like that. So that's why Clued pumped so much, was because of this this quote tweet here. But yeah, I think things like this, like an Ansem hackathon with Solana, would actually, kind of combine the meme degen side of the trenches with the builders, and like I think that they can, bring those two crowds together in a beautiful way. So yeah,
he had the Squire dev on too, right? Recently on that's the Squire dev. Yeah, he had him on Market Bubble, right? I mean, look, if you look at the chart, you have a very easy sort of trade, I think. In that sense.
Yeah. Oh so, my goodness, yeah.
I think there's a lot of like free setups right now on Solana.
Just start positioning in things that don't have attention, and sell things when they have max attention, and you will always win, right?
Simple as.
So I mean, it's simple. It's obvious. Like there's always that gap between plan and execution. But if you are very introspective, then eventually that gap gets smaller and smaller, because you've learned from all those years of losses and pattern recognition.
Yeah, and you said it earlier, it's not difficult to spot. I mean, the resilience of on-chain Solana, like you've been here for a long time, Sonder. You know how it goes. When Bitcoin used to drop 2, 3, 4, 5%, the entire market would be wrecked 10, 12, 15%. So the fact that we're seeing on-chain just become so resilient against market downturns, even like outpacing Solana or the native chain that's I guess it's on, has been really impressive. And so again, like kind of falls back into what you're saying. See something like Clued holding up pretty resilient. We know they won the Pump Fund Hackathon. We know the devs cracked. We know they're working with the Singaporean government, blah, blah, blah. You build the thesis. You're right. Just bid it when it's low attention. And when it gets attention, you can sell into this pumper. You know, I think Clued goes higher, but it's so simple in hindsight.
Exactly. It just you just have to train yourself to take that emotion that you feel, whatever emotion is, and then do the thing that's opposite, right? When you're scared, you just start selling. I mean, when you're scared, you start buying, and when you're just screenshots and talking shit, you start selling.
Yep.
All right, guys, I'm gonna head out, but it was good. Thank you for having me on, and
of course,
for the opportunity.
Thanks
Appreciate
so much, Sonder.
All right,
thanks, Sonder.
Peace.
Boom, boom.
Good chat there.
Man, I think honestly, like we went through a lot of the stuff I was going to go through. I like doing the trader interviews like that, where it's not all just like asking questions, but it's also kind of reacting to the market, where it is, talking about different setups. So yeah, Saunders the GOAT for that.
Lots, yeah. He was dropping some wisdom on everyone here. So go watch that back. We'll be dropping some of those clips. But yeah, I mean, Chill, you're back on Wednesday, Thursday, right? So if we want to go over some more on-chain Solana, I guess we can. We've been going 3.5 hours today, so
yeah.
Not sure what you were thinking, but Noxa looks like a pretty interesting spot here to bid.
Yeah. Let's see. What do you? Maybe we do a quick take on Noxa.
Yeah.
Do a quick take on Noxa for the clip. And I think that's it.
That'll do it.
I mean, there's also a new launch. Virtuals just also launched something as well. We can
talking
also
about
go
wood.
Through that. Food. P-Hood, yeah. Privacy layer for Robinhood, followed by the core contributors of Virtuals.
Yeah, I mean we can cover it real quick, sure.
But now let's do Noxa first, and yeah, and then you know what? Let's just do Noxa and let's dip, and we can always share with the boys in Discord, and we can catch up with the stream again later. But before we get to the Noxa take, guys, it's 4,280 plus people in here right now. First off, welcome to MCG. If this is your first time watching us, we really appreciate you tuning in. We do this every single day, Monday through Friday, Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern time. We bring founders on for interviews. We bring traders on to talk about their positioning in the market. If that's something that you love, if that's something that interests you, then I want you to go back and do two things for me real quick. I'm going to ask two things of you right now. Boom. Boom. Two things. First thing, I want you to go to @MCG Live, @MCG Live. We've been breaking news and breaking on-chain events, you know, for about a year and a couple of months now. We were early to MetaDAO. We were early in the Believe ecosystem. We were early to AI agents, X402 when Pay AI went to 50 mil plus. We were early to pretty much every narrative. We cover everything. And we were also even early to the Robinhood narrative as well. Like I was talking about with Sonder, we the MCG homies in the Discord, and even you guys on stream saw it when I bridged over to Robinhood. I gave you guys the full breakdown in Discord. We gave you the full breakdown on stream. And I basically told you just to sit and wait in some top memes. And here we are. So again, this is what we do. We do it Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern time. So here's the two things that you want to do. First, hit the follow button. Make sure you're following the account We'll break up all of what you saw on stream into some of these bite-sized clips that'll come out later, so you can look forward to that. Thank you guys so much for 12.2K. We've been hitting like hyper growth. Like we were just at like 11,000 followers like a week ago. And it's been like 100 followers a day. So we appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys supporting us. Lastly, you want to go to the pin tweet and you want to do two things: hit like and hit retweet. A lot of you guys have done so already, but it's 4,000, over 4,000 of us in here. Let's go ahead and just hit like and retweet real quick. Let all the homies know that MCG is live and that they're covering all the best stuff on chain. With that said, the last thing that we'll do today is we'll run through a quick take on Noxa. Probably, I would say, the most alpha thing you can do on Robinhood right now, if I'm being honest. And I'll let Dom do that.
Oh, I mean, yeah, this is trading at 4.5 million right now, $8.90 here. I mean, I can even show this tab, I guess. This is a Noxa chart. For those that don't know, Noxa is the predominant launch pad on the Robinhood chain right now. And, you know, we know what happens to the predominant launch pads. We've seen this time and time again. We talk about filling these buckets. Sandra really did a good job about finding these different buckets and just plugging it in, because the same thing is copy and pasted for each chain. And I'll take us back to Solana. Man, we saw some of these new launch pads really do well. And when one pops off, they pop off hard. We're talking hundreds of millions. I would be conservative. Even if Noxa goes to 50 million, again, it's the leading launch pad right now on Robinhood. I think they've done $10 to $12 million in the first 4 days of the Robinhood launch. 80% of the launches are going through Noxa. Revenues up. Numbers are good. This is the first token. We talk about the importance of bridging. Okay, look, you don't need to bid with your entire life savings, but this is on the DBK chain, which is a dead Ethereum chain. It's difficult to get to. We've talked about the process on how to bridge. You can look it up yourself. It's not too difficult. If you have Rabby wallet, go to Rabby, go to settings, go to ecosystems, bridge from ETH to DBK. Again, mind you, it is 7 days to bridge back, right? So bridge there, 7 days to bridge back, but whatever. With that being said, Noxa is, at this point, the best exposure to the leading launchpad on Robinhood. It's difficult to get. There's a lot of friction to get it. We don't know if they're going to adopt it or they're going to do a transition or migration over to Robinhood, but this is the exposure. So I'm not saying there's no risk involved with it. There's a lot of risk, but they just burned 40% of this token. It's trading at a $4.43 million market cap, and it's the leading launchpad on Robinhood that's generated $10 to $12 million in revenue. Okay, even off of the story alone, if they don't even adopt it, it could run, and I think reprice to 20, 30, 40, 50, $100 million market cap. Even better if they do migrate it to Robinhood, you know, adopt this token and reinforce that this is their main token, then this probably blows up. But again, it's difficult to bridge. The bridge has been down. You have to go through Rabby, have to go through RPCs or the contract, whatever it might be. So that's the thesis here. Currently trading at $9. It is taking dips, but it's bouncing pretty much every time. Liquidity is actually not too bad. Yeah, 337K in liquidity. So that's the thesis. There's not much to it.
So I'll show you guys another thing as well, just to wrap this off. It's, you know, like Dom mentioned, pump fun of Robinhood, but the team also burned 40% of the supply. I believe it was a day or two ago. But they basically took a bunch of took some of the revenue that they made, bought some of the supply. So the speculation is anyway that there is a migration potentially coming, right? And right now, launches on Noxa are paused because they're trying to, you know, figure out a solution to vamping and some of these other things. But I would assume that when they're ready to get things going again, I'm assuming that that would also coincide with some sort of recognition of a token. So we'll see. But again, all speculation. There's risks involved. But if you guys would like, you can always go to my profile. And I basically broke down, like, you know, how to bridge and stuff like that. And even talking about some of these other metrics as well. I mean, look, this is the top dominant launch pad, best way to get exposure. And it looks like even before, you know, their intentions were to adopt this token. And but it's on the D-Bank chain. Like, I don't know if you guys know about D-Bank. It's like the EVM wallet tracker. But yeah, that's the full breakdown with the Noxa token. But outside of that, boys, I think we're good today. I think we're good. We went through quite a bit. Maybe the last thing I'll do is share the schedule for the rest of the week so you guys know what's coming up. Go ahead and read that one while I put this up, Don.
Yeah, Fumbler, no, I don't disagree. You said, in my opinion, it's too early to choose Noxa as the winner of this. Feels like we will see so many launch pads with better branding than this, even cross-chain ones like bags and stuff. Yeah, no, probably. The thing here is this has the token. This is the first mover, and it's very, very cheap right now, and they've made a lot of money. So I don't disagree with the fact that we might get a better one. They have been in the market for a long time, so I think the dev's actually pretty comprehensive in terms of like what they built. But you're right, branding looks ugly, looks like AI slop. It simply was the first. So yeah, I'm not saying there's no risk involved whatsoever. There's definitely risk involved, but the risk to reward, I think, is pretty good here compared to a lot of other things you could bid.
I think the other thing to consider too is they have time and they have the advantage over everyone else. Everyone is just launching right now. Maybe they have great ideas. I think there are some good launch pads out there. I think some of them try to fix the vamping and stuff like that. So yeah, there are other good launch pads, but the reality is by being first, Noxa has time in the market, which also proves credibility. It proves competency, but then they also have the metrics, right? Like they just made $10 million. Like I don't, if branding is an issue, like they just made 10 million. That's an easy fix for them. Like they now have a war chest behind them that can help them to kind of plug some of the holes in, but I think it's too early. Yeah, like you mentioned, I do agree. It's too early to tell. There's still so many questions to ask, so many questions that need to be answered. So I guess that's why, people like me and Sonder have only slept a couple hours, over the last week. But yeah, they do have, I agree. They do have to move fast. I get shutting it down for a day. The chain was kind of slowing up. A lot of things were pulling back. So, okay, I get you. Take a pause moment, fix the vamping, maybe migrate. Maybe that's another thing that they're also trying to do, but like get your service back up and running before, other people start to eat your lunch essentially. But yeah, definitely agree with you there.
I mean, it's $4 million market cap though.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard to. It's kind of the risk reward is just really crazy.
It wouldn't take much for this to 10x to 40, 50 mil.
In my opinion, yeah. All right. So last thing here, the schedule. Today we had the MetaDAO day. We interviewed, Meta Profit. We interviewed the solo dev Ranga, and we interviewed Shri from Cred. And then lastly, Sonder. Some really great information covered today. I mean, in MetaDAO, we talked about the vision for the future, his pipeline. I think that was my biggest takeaway, was just how he's not really going after the VC crowd funding, but he's going after, some of the app founders, right? Some of the people that might not need, millions and millions of dollars, but maybe they just need 100K to get a good business off the ground. And if they're just making 50 million a year, that's a mid-sized business, but that's a good business for someone like a MetaDAO. So he's focused on catching some of that low-hanging fruit in the traditional space. Like he mentioned he's trying to reach to more Web 2 crowd. So, great conversation with Meta Profit. Solo Ranga turning on the YAS, the yield as a service, with their stable coin, instead of it just being a B2B thing. They're turning that on for everyone. I think that was my biggest takeaway. Cred with Shri, that interview was crazy. I mean, he has an insane resume. He also has a previously successful business, and they've also been doing, like, I think it was like 250 million, or 140 million in terms of monthly volume on their platform. So revenue's good, resume's good, a lot of things going for them. And then lastly, you saw Sonder, that conversation. Great talk with him. Just a real guy, a guy that's just like us, not making any claims to, execute perfectly on every trade. Rather, what he's doing is just kind of sharing with us his process and how, like many of us, he also makes mistakes. But guess what? He makes mistakes, but he still shows up to the table, and he still takes advantage of opportunities that only crypto can provide. So if you guys, are interested in any of that, you can always just go back and watch rewatch the stream, or if you'd like to go to the link in our bio, we'll be uploading these full segments to our YouTube as well. Tomorrow we'll have on Chip, USDAI, and Nest on. I believe we have also another person on. Voicebox as well is coming on tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. So it should be a really great show tomorrow. And then we have a lot of alpha the rest of the week. We're talking, PRXVT. We're talking Tibber. We're talking Virtual's ecosystem. Like, stack.
By the way, this is not the Tibber team coming on, of course. This is just a community sleuth, since Tibber is not an official, like.
Yes. Core contributor, if you will, or core community member, if you will. But looking really good here.
Friday's
on the
gonna be
schedule,
crazy,
guys.
We're talking about Robinhood
Fridays,
utility. Yeah. We're gonna have Virtuals come on. We're gonna have the team. We're gonna talk about the relationship with Robinhood and get a bunch of the ecosystem on. It's gonna be amazing. I think we're gonna have Vex on for sure. So yeah, it'll be sick.
Yes, should be amazing. And again, subscribe to the YouTube. We're actually at 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. What the heck?
Are we? Did we hit 1,000?
I thought we did.
I saw we were at like
1,000.
770 or something last time. Also Chip we have coming on Tuesday, which is a huge one. Their revenue is insane right now. So I think that might be a big sleeper. But what's the YouTube? Are we actually at 1,000?
Wait. Hold on. All right. Let's. I thought it was 1,000 when I checked. Oh, it's 800. My bad, guys. My bad. 800 is still good though.
Yeah, considering we just
good.
like don't really do much on there.
We don't do nothing for the YouTube. I mean, look, here's our YouTube. Here's our YouTube.
I mean, it's got it. If you guys want to like rewatch anything and you can't find it on Twitter, it's all on here.
It's literally all on here. So, but yeah, hey, I'll take it. 800 and not really getting much of a push. I'm down.
Yes, sir. All right, boys. We love you. 4270 in here. We appreciate everyone. We're doing good. We're in a good spot. We've been grinding through the bear market. We're very positioned and prepared for this bull market. We know what's hot. We know what's good. We know what's been building. Guys, clap it up for yourselves if you stuck with it. We're gonna crush. So tune in every day of the week. Peace, boys.
Hey, see you on the timeline, and for all you in the Discord, see you in the Discord. Appreciate y'all.